Spectacular fall afternoon in Calgary where the Stampeders and Argos are set to meet in what should be a great football game in southern Alberta. The standings tell us why this game is important. The Argos are in first place in the Eastern Division. They got a bit of a cushion after Winnipeg lost last night. Calgary has some company on top of the West. The BC Lions were winners last night, but with the win today, Calgary can retake sole possession of first place. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to McMahon Stadium. I'm Gord Miller. Last year, both these teams finished first, but both teams came up short. Both were defeated in their divisional finals. They're looking for consistency this year, and so far they've found it. Perhaps even enough that they'll meet each other in the Grey Cup in Winnipeg in November. For more on tonight's game, let's hear from John Wells and Leif Pedersen.
All right, Gord, the Stamps and the Argos for the first time in 1991, and the kickoff gets us underway. Pee-wee Smith on the return for the Calgary Stampeders. Smith out near the 35 and stopped there by Ed Berry, an 11-yard return. And the Stampeders get set to go on offense. It is Steve Taylor who will start this afternoon against the Toronto Argos.
That's pretty much what we expected, John. It's, I think, a much better plan to have Steve Taylor start. He struggles to be able to have Gilbert Renfro come in and follow him, but Steve Taylor did, in fact, struggle last week. He would like to get off to a much better start this week.
First and 10 for the Stampeders, just shy of their 35-yard line. Taylor will throw on first. Out Chris Munford over to make the tackle. As Gord mentioned, a beautiful afternoon. Not much of a factor today, and the artificial turf is dry at McMahon Stadium.
Nice way to start for Steve Taylor, too. Last week, of course, very unnerving for him in his first professional start. Today, came out, his offensive line gave him a nice pocket, and he picked out the favorite receiver of the Calgary quarterbacks this year, Alan Pitts. Nice situation.
And Spallettini carries, stopped by Darryl Ford. I'm not sure if he has enough for the first down. Darryl Ford leading the league in tackles through 10 games with 62.
There have been a lot of players on the Argonaut defense that have played well this year, but I don't think anyone more so than Darryl Ford, number 21. He's the leading tackler, as John mentioned. He is extremely aggressive from that linebacking spot. He is very good at sacking the quarterback, good in his pass drops. And he is one fellow that has enjoyed an outstanding year in 91.
Stampeders are stopped short and will be forced to kick it away as Brent Maddich comes on, netting 35 yards per punt. And the Rocket is the lone man back for the Argos. He won't have a play on this kick by Brent Maddich. A 49-yarder with no return.
No return. Argonauts have the football, first down. Canadian Airlines are
at stake here this afternoon, bragging rights for a week at least as the best team in the CFL. Both the Argos and the Stampeders come in with 7-3 records, and Matt Dunnigan is back at the controls of the Argos for the 4th week in a row. 1,605 yards passing.
Boy, last week he and the Rocket really hooked up 3 touchdown passes to the Rocket. Finally, it's taken a few games, but Matt is very comfortable throwing to him now.
Quick out. And Kenton Leonard was there to make the tackle. And Ismail.
The Calgary Stampeders have done their homework. They know that this is a favorite play in the Argonaut offense, one they like to get the ball into the Rockets' hands very quickly. Kenton Leonard read it perfectly. He came up. Nobody could block him, and he put a good lick on the Rockets, held it to a 1-yard gain. Kenton Leonard, well, he's won a starting job here this season with the Stampeders, and he has looked pretty good.
Gain is 1, 2nd and 9, facing Dunnigan now. With time to throw, Dunnigan looks to the near side, and Darryl K. Smith couldn't bring it down. Coverage by Darryl Hall. So the Argos will kick away quickly.
Broken up on the
early in the opening quarter.
Incomplete. 3rd down, Argonauts.
Two deep for the Calgary Stampeders. Harold Tucker, number 3, and Pee-wee Smith, number 86.
Tucker and Smith back to return the kick.
Hank Alisic standing near his 5-yard line.
Hank Alisic punting for Argos.
Low kick by Alisic. Pee-wee Smith calls for it near the 50. And a decent return to set the Calgary Stampeders up with excellent field position on a 16-yard return. Lloyd Salazar leading the tacklers. Calgary Stampeders have a first down in great field position at the Argos 47. Stamps playing on a short field again, Leaf.
Well, they really are. You know, you look at the two punts in the game already. Matic had a 49-yard net punt. The Lysics that time, the low liner, was only a 27-yard net. So the Stampeders with great field position because of their punting.
And Keevan Jenkins carries to the 40. A gain of 7. Gaines leading the tacklers for the Argos. Stampeders offensively line up this way with one change in the middle as Doug Davies starts at center with the veterans on either side. Smith and Bland are the wide receivers. Beals and Pitts are inside. The runners are Keevan Jenkins and Andy McVeigh. 2nd and 3. Facing Steve Taylor right now. Taylor looks to throw, gets it away just in time, and it's picked off by Ed Berry coming over the top. Carl Bland was the intended receiver, number 85, and Berry came over the top for his 2nd interception of the season.
What the Argonauts have been able to do this year is get pressure on the quarterback, and the pressure will come late, but nevertheless it does come. Rodney Harding is on Taylor. Chris Gaines will tip the ball, and Ed Berry, who's back in the lineup today, comes up with his 2nd interception of the year. But watch the pressure late. Harding, 77, gets into the legs of Steve Taylor, and he can't quite get everything on that throw. Gaines tips it. Berry missed the recipient of the interception. Argonauts get the first turnover of the afternoon.
And it is 1st and 10 Toronto, beginning at the Argo 25. Penalty markers down as Dunnigan hands off to the Rocket. Ismail is short of the first down and forced out of bounds by Darrell Hall, number 7. 7-yard gain for the Rocket. 11:04 to go in the opening quarter. Stampeders will be charged with offside.
Offside. Calgary number 93. First down repeated.
Dave Ewell is the head referee this afternoon at McMahon Stadium. A beautiful afternoon for football, as the Argos and the Stampeders meet for the first time in 1991. Smelly is out across the 40 and near the 45, stopped by Junior Thurman.
Kevin Smelly, the ball carrier. Gain of 15 yards.
Checking out the Argonaut offense with one change this week at right tackle. Jim Kardash moving in for Kelvin Prunster, who is injured. Ismail and Boyd are the wide receivers. Smith and Johnson and J.P. Esquardo and Kevin Smelly are the running backs.
Must be fun for J.P. Esquardo, who played his college football at the University of Calgary. Gets to come home today and be a starter as well.
Smelly gets the call on 1st and 10. Stopped by Kent Warnock, number 93. The gain will be 3 yards.
2nd down.
Adam Rita, his first year as head coach, has the best team in the CFL East through the first 10 weeks of the schedule. Interesting guy to talk to.
Well, he's very low-key, very pleasant, very cooperative, and I think that he has put together, it's his offense. It's his offense from last year, and of course he has stayed with it this year, and they are a tremendously exciting group, and I think they've tightened up the defense just a little more this season.
Dunnigan on a roll as he fires for Darrell K. Smith inside the 45-yard line. And the safety, Greg Peterson, comes up to make the tackle on Darrell K. Smith, the Argos' leading receiver. 21-yard gain.
Calgary, predominantly a man-to-man cover team this afternoon. They've decided to play zone against this potent Argo receiving core, and with a Darrell Smith, it's pretty easy for him to find a little soft spot in behind 97 Dwan Brandon. And if they're going to stay in a zone coverage, I suspect Matt Dunnigan's going to have a pretty good afternoon.
So far, no score. As Dunnigan lines up on 1st down, he's hit, fumbles the ball. The Stampeders have recovered. Matt Finley coming up with a fumbled football, and Kent Warnock coming through to deck Dunnigan. Wally Bwan Toronto won 6 in a row before losing 3 of the last 4. Stampeders get a break here. Good pressure by Will Johnson on Dunnigan, forcing the fumble. And Matt Finley comes up with it.
You know, Jimmy Kardash is the starting right tackle. John, you mentioned that he is taking the place of Kelvin Prunster, and that time Will Johnson, who's tied for the sack lead in the CFL, just simply beat him to the inside, caused the fumble. And the Calgary Stampeders have the second turnover this afternoon. Ed Barry with the one interception for the Argonauts, and now Matt Finley with the fumble recovery for the Calgary Stampeders.
This could be a little more costly for the Argos with the field position the Stampeders have come up with here. They're almost in field goal range already with a first down at the 48.
Well, I think it's safe to say that the Calgary Stampeders, their offense plays on a short field more than any other offense in the league, and that's a result of turnovers and good special teams.
First and 10, and the pitch goes to Keyvan Jenkins. Right side of the Argo defense, read it well. Brian Warren is the first Argo to the Stampeder running back.
Tackled by Don Moen. Second down, Stampeders.
8:31 to go in the opening quarter. So far, no scoring for the Stampeders and the Argos. Gain is 2. This will be 2nd and 8. Calgary at the Toronto 46. Trouble, and he's down. Loose ball recovered by the Stampeders. There's number 77, Rodney Harding, leading the Argo tacklers there.
By Rodney Harding, loss of 7 yards on the play. Third down.
So far in the first quarter, the Toronto Argonaut front four has come with a tremendous amount of pressure on Steve Taylor. Just as he's about to set up, he has some players right in his face. Number 38, Chris Gaines on the blitz. Rodney Harding, 77, is also there. And so far, this front group having things pretty much their own way.
Hunting situation on 3rd and long for Manic. Ismail is the lone man back, and he chases it into the end zone. There will be no return after a 61-yard kick. Now, Matt Dunnigan might have been shaken up on the previous play when he was sacked. Rick Foggy is coming in to quarterback the Argos.
Will Johnson, Ricky Foggy just got the call to go in and wasn't expecting it. Dunnigan suffered an injury to his throwing arm. It looks like the forearm. The doctors are taking a look at it, but they say he should be back.
Well, you don't lose a great deal when Ricky Foggy comes in the game. He's got a great throwing arm, and he is exceptional at running the football himself. So he's the ultimate consummate backup quarterback, actually.
Trumaine Johnson, or rather Darryl Hall covering on Trumaine Johnson. Foggy is right on the money there. Didn't miss by much. Dunnigan being attended to on the sidelines. It has been a tough couple of seasons for Matt Dunnigan. He has had the injury bug.
Last year was the hamstring. This year was the torn calf muscle. And now whatever injury has occurred for him, and it's not been a lot of fun.
The worst thing we can be is late.
2nd and 10 for Ricky Foggy and the Argos. At the 35 after giving up a single point. Calgary leading 1-0. No catch. Jeff Boyd covered by Junior Thurman.
Dunnigan pass intended for Boyd. Broken up by Junior Thurman. Incomplete. Third down, Argonauts.
Well, Toronto did a nice job picking up the blitz, allowing Ricky Foggy plenty of time to pick out a receiver, but Junior Thurman, number 2, who has turned out to be an exceptional cornerback for the Stampeders, did a nice job breaking on the football and knocking that ball away from Jeff Boyd.
Hank Olisic is in. First punt traveled 43 yards. Olisic averaging 45.4 so far this season. Rolling to Pee Wee Smith. Finds a bit of a seam, and now to the outside. Smith finally run out of bounds. After a good return that sets the Calgary Stampeders up with good field position once more. 21 yards on the return. Stampeders in the lead by 1.
on TSN is brought to you by GMC Trucks, the trucks more people lean on. And by Diet 7-Up. It's cool to be clear.
6:38 to go in the opening quarter at McMahon Stadium, where the Stampeders lead the Argos 1-0 on a 61-yard single by Brent Maddich. One turnover each way. Matt Dunnigan out of the ball game, at least temporarily, for the Argos, as Ricky Foggy came in on the last sequence. Dunnigan was hit by Will Johnson midway through this opening quarter. So we'll check out the story on Dunnigan, and right now check out the story with the Calgary offense.
Everybody back in TO.
Directed by Steve Taylor this afternoon.
And really, he's had great field position every drive he started, so it's about time, you know, they got some offense for him.
Rolling to the far side, and Alan Pitts was the intended receiver.
Intended for Pitts, incomplete.
Well, not to get on Steve Taylor's case too much, but really, he had Alan Pitts wide open, who had run a very, very good out pattern, and quite frankly, I wouldn't be surprised to see the wing of Gilbert Renfro start to warm up in a hurry. That was a pass that should have been completed.
He had time. 6:19 to go in the opening quarter. Stampeders by 1. 2nd and 10, Calgary. 53. Some early movement draws flags. Taylor in trouble. He escapes that and comes up with a first down. Mumford brought him down. Chris Gaines was in hot pursuit, as was Mike Campbell. A 16-yard gain, but it may come back on a procedure call against Calgary.
That's too bad. That was a nice run by Steve Taylor. Probably the best thing that he does is to take off with the football, but I think Lloyd Fairbanks moved a little bit early and cost him 5.
Procedure, Calgary number 59. 2nd down repeated.
Well, he was right beside Lloyd Fairbanks, Leo Blanchard. And it gets a little confusing down there at times.
Well, nevertheless, the unfortunate part is Steve Taylor had picked up a first down, and now he has to struggle. And as a young quarterback, 1st and 15 against an Argonaut defense that's been pretty tough in the first quarter. It's not a great deal of fun.
Argo defense has allowed the lowest gain per pass this season so far. It is decent against the run, as Keevan Jenkins found out, running into Chris Gaines.
Ball carrier. Okay. Tackled by Chris Gaines. 3rd down, Stampeders.
So again, it'll be a kicking situation for Brent Maddich, who boomed a 61-yard single on his last try and has not allowed a return by the Rockets so far.
I think his instructions were definite. Do not kick it to the Rocket today.
Maybe tough to keep this one away from Ismail, who takes it at the 10. Spinning out across the 20-yard line, he's brought down at the 23 by Paul Clatney. 14-yard return, another good punt. 51 yards for Maddich that time.
Tackled by Mark Singer. 1st down, Argonauts.
5:11 to go in the opening quarter. A slow start for both offenses here this afternoon. Just 1 point on the board, belonging to the Calgary Stampeders.
Foggy now quarterback for Toronto.
Counting us out. Foggy is in for the 2nd sequence. Foggy is in trouble and down. Matt Finley. And Ballard wasn't far away. Warnock was there too.
Calgary Stampeders love to blitz quarterbacks. They've got a good secondary that can cover man-to-man, so they bring Matt Finley there. He is actually pushed into the quarterback Ricky Foggy by number 5 Kevin Smelly, and he will get the sack.
10-yard loss.
Pretty good start for him. Fumble recovery, 1 sack, first quarter.
Time count violation charged against the Argos. 2nd
Time
and
count
20.
violation. Toronto number 14. 2nd down repeated.
Actually, that's a real break for Calgary, more so than the 5-yard penalty, but the Toronto Argonauts came out with nobody in the backfield, everybody out as a receiver, so if they do that again, Calgary has at least a few more seconds now to make an adjustment to that, and that's exactly what they're doing here. Nobody in the backfield.
3 receivers to the near side, 3 to the far side of the field. Foggy doesn't use anyone. He takes off himself, but a penalty marker is down. 4:05 to go in the opening quarter.
8 yards on the play. Forced out of bounds by Matt Finley. Flag on the play.
And the penalty will go against the Argos. Nothing Stampeders with 4:05 to go in the opening quarter at McMahon Stadium.
Major foul, face mask, Toronto number 63, third down.
Jim Kardash starting at right tackle in relief of Kelvin Prunster. He's caught there. This will force Olisic about 5 yards deep in the end zone to kick away on third down. The 50, and Pee Wee Smith can't handle it inside his 40, so Olisic gets the Argos out of some trouble. Gordon?
Well, John, the day is over for Matt Dunnigan. He has suffered a separated shoulder. Initially, it was only some tingling in his elbow, but they have discovered that the shoulder has been separated. His day is over, and he may be gone for several weeks.
Boy, it just goes from bad to worse for Matt Dunnigan. He was just thrilled to be back a few weeks ago after getting the calf muscle healthy again, and now this, and you have to really feel sorry for him. Nobody wants to play more than he does, and it just seems that bad luck follows him everywhere he goes.
It certainly has followed him to the Argos. This is Carl Bland. The gain will be around 5 yards, stopped by number 13, Ed Berry.
Bland to get 5 yards on the play, tackled by Berry.
Tough couple of weeks on quarterbacks. Tracy Ham down in Edmonton, Dan Barrett injured here. Barrett has a broken knuckle and is gone for about 4 weeks. Objectionable conduct charged against the Argos. Stampeders with a first down as a result of the penalty. Steve Taylor for the first down, stepping out near the 40-yard line. A little added shove there by Don Wilson as Steve Taylor gets the Stampeders a first down. Here's the way the Argos line up defensively for this one, with Hallman, Napierkowski, Harding, and Warren up front. And a great linebacking core, Mullen, Gaines, and Ford. Secondary, happy to have Ed Berry back on the corner and Carl Braisley back in his regular spot. First and 10, Calgary from the 37. Keevan Jenkins.
Keevan Jenkins, the ball carrier, gain of 3 yards on the play, forced out of bounds by Don Moen. Second down.
2:38 to go in the opening quarter.
The Statue of Liberty play by Steve Taylor, try and freeze those linebackers enough that Keevan Jenkins can get to the outside, and looked as though he had some pretty good room there. Lead block by Andy McVeigh, but Don Moen did a nice job to fight it off and really hold it to a pretty short gain.
They mark it at 3 yards. It'll be 2nd and 7 for the Stampeders. The Argo 34. Taylor has a man open far side. Alan Pitts, that's a first down Calgary as Pitts fights his way to the 21. Reggie Pleasant made the tackle on Alan Pitts after a 12-yard gain.
Tackled by Reggie Pleasant for the Argonauts.
Well, Alan Pitts and Ray Alexander really have a good battle going for the league lead in pass receptions. Ray Alexander with a good night last night. Would he have 7 catches, I believe, and now Alan Pitts, for the first time this season, has to fight his way back to the top. He trails Ray Alexander by 6.
2 catches for Pitts so far today. 1st and 10. Stampeders. And Taylor is brought down by Darrell Ford.
Ball carrier gained of 5 yards on the play. Tackled by Gerald Ford. Second down, Stampeders.
Well, I think at this point it is apparent that Steve Taylor is going to run with football this afternoon, and now it's going to be an adjustment for the Toronto Argonaut linebacking core. You've got Donnie Moen, Chris Gaines, and Darryl Ford, and what they're going to have to do is not only stay in their pass drops on zone coverage, but they're really going to have to keep an eye out for Steve Taylor, because there's no question he is going to run with it.
6 yards for Taylor on that play. It is 2nd and 4. The Stampeders at the Argo 15. Taylor on the run to the near side. As Sean Beals has his first catch of the day, and Beals is forced out at the 3 by Don Wilson.
Calgary Stampeders use motion effectively. Beals really comes out of the backfield, and he gets a running start at Donnie Wilson, so Don Wilson gives him lots of room, and he just can't stay with him.
Gain is 12 yards. And it'll be 1st and goal to go Stampeders from the 3-yard line. Calgary in front of the Argos, but only by a point so far. Evan Jenkins. And he has the touchdown. Stopped briefly at the line, but his progress carried him in, and he broke the plane for the Stampeders' first touchdown today. Calgary moves in front of Toronto 7-0 at McMahon Stadium.
Calgary Stampeders do a nice job of folding the Argonauts down to the inside, and then Spallettini with a kick-out block. Billy Henry pulls and gets a good block on Chris Gaines, and that allows Keevan Jenkins into the end zone with Calgary's first major of the afternoon.
No doubt about the convert by Mark McLaughlin, as Keevan Jenkins gives the Stampeders an 8-0 advantage on the Toronto Argonauts.
The Calgary Stampeders are really not known as a rushing football club, but when they get down in scoring territory, they get the job done. There, Keevan Jenkins with some good hard running to actually push Chris Gaines back into the end zone, and he has his 6th touchdown of the year. They do get the job done when they get in scoring territory. That's why they're in first place.
Pretty good drive actually engineered by Steve Taylor there, using Beals as well as Alan Pitts and Keevan Jenkins.
Well, I think Steve Taylor's made an adjustment himself that has been pretty smart. He's gone to the rollout, and this allows him to have pretty good sight line downfield, and of course the option to run with it, which he's done very effectively. And that little adjustment, getting away from the drop back where he has to look at the whole field.
Ismail alone, man deep for the Argos, and he takes on across the 30, across the 40, out to the 50-yard line, and there is a penalty marker down, a 38-yard return for the Rocket after a 60-yard kickoff.
43 yards on the play. There is a flag. Tackled by Kevin Leonard.
Stampeders might have been offside on the kickoff, so we'll see what the Argos decide.
Offside. Calgary number 30. Decline. First down.
Good field position for the Argos, and they haven't had that a great many times this afternoon.
So they have a little breathing room for Ricky Foggy, and now it's up to him with the injury to Matt Dunnigan, and he will have to direct this team.
1st and 10 Argos, beginning at the 49 this time. Good fake by Ricky Foggy. Darrell K. Smith, the intended receiver, and he drew double coverage. Kent Leonard was there, and so was the safety, All-Canadian Greg Peterson.
2nd down, Argonaut.
Darrell Smith, who set the all-time yardage record in receiving for the Argos last week, runs into double coverage right here. Ken Leonard underneath, and then Greg Peterson, as the free safety is supposed to do, comes over and helps him out and puts a pretty good hit on Darrell Smith. In fact, such a good hit, he's the one that's down.
So is Greg Peterson right now, so injured players on both sides.
Greg Peterson taken up on the play for the Stamp, number 24.
And as Greg Peterson has attended to, we'll tell you that the Calgary Stampeders went 7 plays and 72 yards, most of it along the ground by Steve Taylor, capped off by the 3-yard touchdown by Keevan Jenkins.
Well, it's really critical. Greg Peterson has come out of the game, but he is the fellow that will make all the quick adjustments to the rest of his defensive teammates this afternoon as to where the Rockets going, what kind of defense they are going to play. So very important that he is healthy and gets back in there.
That'll bring Darcy Kopp into the game. He is playing in his 100th consecutive CFL game. Foggy in some difficulty on 2nd and 10. He escapes and has a first down inside the 45.
Ricky Foggy, the long
And Darcy Kopp supplies the hits.
Gain of 18 yards on the play.
After an 18-yard gain.
By number 32,
It is the Stampeders by 8 at McMahon Stadium. And quarter 1 is complete. And the update from McMahon Stadium as we begin the second quarter. Stampeders leading the Argos. It is 8-0. 1st and 10. Argos at the 42. This is the Rocket. And he could be gone. Down the sidelines. Touchdown as the Argos get right back in it. Boy, he ran that well. Watching for blockers, and Rocket Ismail has his first touchdown at McMahon Stadium.
touchdown to the CFL.
That is some great blocking up front and some super speed by the Rocket. Watch this on the Statue of Liberty. The handoff, 54. Blaine Schmidt out in front with a good block right there to set Rocket free for the last few yards, and then it is all his speed into the end zone.
42 yards, the touchdown run, and the Argos move within a point of the Calgary Stampeders and the convert by Lance Chomick.
Lance Chomick converted good. The score.
So it's 8-7.
The Toronto Argonauts, 7.
And that was the opening play of the second quarter. 42-yard touchdown for the Rocket.
Members of the media will collect the score on the outstanding.
Watch Will Johnson. He thinks he's got the sack right there, and all of a sudden the Rocket is by him, and good block right there, Blaine Schmidt, and then it is some tremendous speed. No one will catch the Rocket from behind.
Great acceleration, but he set up his blocking well, waited for the blocks in front for 42-yard.
A good fake by Ricky Foggy, too. Will Johnson, all of a sudden he's thinking, wow, I got my sack, and before he knows it, the Rocket's behind him.
Light Walk, FM 96.
Third rushing touchdown of the season for Ismail. So a one-point ball game with the Stampeders in front of the Argos by 1 at 8-7. Calgary trying to get back on track with just one win in the last 4 games. On the kickoff return, Pee Wee Smith.
Pee Wee Smith.
Stopped at the 29-yard line by J.P. Esquerdo.
The 55-yard
kickoff.
21-yard return. And the injured Argo is Paul Nastasiuk, a special teams player. Stasiuk, the backup holder in the Argonauts, will likely come to Ricky Foggy if Stasiuk can't perform his holding duties on field goals.
Being held on June 3rd, 1992. Drove the date of the October 13th Stampeder game. Called the Calgary Philharmonic Orchestra.
Argo's last win in Calgary was 42-25, and it goes back to 1988, September 30th. But over the last 10 meetings, it's dead even at 5 wins each.
Yeah, different team, though, than 1988 when they won the last time here. This is a very good Argo club. It was a good Argonaut club last year, but I think the biggest change, obviously, I mean, they have great offense, but they set the scoring record last year for offense. Their biggest change is on defense. They are a much more solid team in that department.
That was Adam Rita's defense last year, too, with the scoring record. He has moved up to be head coach, and as you see, Matt Dunnigan is on the sidelines.
Receivers over here. Wanted to make sure. There might have been one guy.
And we can see what happens in Nastasiuk in this play.
Just pick your game.
Looked like there was a hole initially for Pee Wee Smith to get through.
Get up the game with the goal line. It's so easy.
Can't tell what happened.
Hard to tell from that angle. 14:32 to go till halftime. As Nastasiuk heads to the sidelines, the Stampeders are in front, 8-7. It is 1st and 10, Calgary at the 29. Taylor for Keevan Jenkins. Tried to fight off a block. Tackled by Darryl Ford.
6 yards on the play. Darryl Ford on the tackle for the Argos. 2nd down, Stampeders.
Gain will be 6, 2nd and 4.
I think it's a good first down play for Steve Taylor. Quick pass to the backs, picks up 6 yards. That's a very positive play. Something that now he has an option. I like to see him go to that rollout, though. He's been effective with that. He can run or throw.
2nd and 4 for Taylor. And wide open, it's Alan Pitts, and Pitts has room to motor. He's across midfield and down to the Argo 50. Darryl Ford got back to make the tackle again, number 21. A 24-yard gain for Alan Pitts. Catch of the day.
Well, I sure love watching Alan Pitts play. You know, he's such a great size, 6'4", 200 pounds plus. And he is an easy guy to see for the Calgary quarterbacks, and he works so hard as a receiver. Slight roll for Steve Taylor, come back across the field. There he says he's looking downfield. I mean, that is a perfect target to see over the middle, and then once Pitts gets it, he's able to run away from the linebackers initially. Darryl Ford catches him from behind. But he is an exciting guy to watch.
Big first down for Alan Pitts. There's another injured Argo out there. It's been a tough afternoon on the Argos already with Dunnigan gone. This is Don Mullen shaken up back near the 35-yard line. So Mullen will be replaced by Keith Costello for a couple of plays until he's able to return. 8-7 Calgary, 13:29 to go in the opening half. Costello, number 37 for the Oshawa Juniors. His 2nd year with the Argos, 4th in the CFL. 1st and 10, Stampeders now at the 51. Good fake by Taylor, runs the option well. And it'll be another Calgary first down as Steve Taylor gets inside the 40 for a 13-yard gain.
Forced out of bounds by Ed Berry of the Argos. First down.
That's a great play for Steve Taylor. Everybody knows he's a good runner, but if you see right here, as he comes down the line of scrimmage, they're going to get right to here. We'll let it run initially, and then we're going to stop it. Because you're going to see number 37, Keith Costello, come into your screen shortly. Right here, stop it. There's Costello. He's in a bind. If he goes here, he pitches. If he goes out here, Taylor runs. That is a great read by Steve Taylor.
Andy McVeigh, the ball carrier, gain of 3 yards on the play.
3 yards for Andy McVeigh.
By Rodney Harding.
Well, we saw Flutie run that option last night, and you know, once you get to the outside, the linebacker, he can do nothing right. I mean, if he goes to Taylor, he flips it to the other guy. If he goes to Keevan Jenkins, Taylor runs it. So, I mean, it's not a play you want to run all the time, but certainly it can be effective, as it was right there every so often.
And you need the right style of quarterback to make it work.
Fearless.
Fearless.
Sometimes you take a pretty good hit.
2nd and 7. Taylor on the money for Sean Beals,
Taylor's
number
pass
88.
complete to Sean Beals. A gain of 5 yards on the play.
Chris Gaines making the tackle with a little help from Don Wilson.
Stampeders.
Well, there's no question that the Calgary offense feels that the Toronto linebackers drop so deep that they can throw underneath it and then run for first downs. But so far in this game, Chris Gaines and Darryl Ford, Donnie Mullen, and Keith Costello have all done a nice job coming up and making the tackle before the pass receiver is able to pick up that first down. But no question, Calgary wants to throw underneath it. Toronto's been equal to the task.
Gain of 5, not enough, so that brings on Mark McLaughlin for a field goal try, his first of the day. Percentage is 67.6, and he's wide on this one. From 36 yards away. So the Stampeders add 1 to the total and now lead the Argos by 2. It's 9-7 Stampeders leading Toronto at McMahon. Paulie Buono, 18-9-1 as the head coach of the Stampeders in his second season. Got off to a great start again this year, 6-0, and then ran into a couple of problems. Lost 3 games in the last 4. The other side of the field, Adam Rita, 7-3 in his first season as a head coach in Canadian football. Life isn't bad for Adam Rita. He's got some tools to work with in his first year, doesn't he? Inherited a pretty good job.
Yes, he's got a nice group to work with. I think the only black mark on their season so far is they're the only team to lose to the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
Yeah, now that hurt a couple of weeks ago, but they came back with a vengeance
last week,
52-25, when they got the Tiger Cats into the Sky Dome. Ricky Foggy at quarterback for the Argos on 1st and 10. The pressure comes now. Good block to spring Foggy free, but he can't get away from everyone. Lost the ball, and it's picked up by Bob Skimp. Stu Laird stripped it away from Foggy. Skimp came up with it and had nowhere to go.
The Calgary front 4 is relentless here as they come after Ricky Foggy, and what they do so well is the ends, Walter Ballard and Will Johnson, stay so wide that Foggy has no choice but to come back up the middle, and who's waiting for him? Kent Warnock. And now Ballard. Well, boy, Stu Laird got there. That was great. I mean, that's perfect front 4 play.
I don't know that Bob Skimp was a running back in college.
No, he didn't look too nifty carrying the football right there.
Chris Schultz has been shaken up. Number 67 being attended to. Schultz in his 6th year out of Arizona. 6'8", 285. Stampeders leading the Argos 9-7 here at McMahon Stadium, the final game of Week 11 in the Canadian Football League. There is one other game underway this afternoon. An earlier start at Taylor Field, Regina, with the Eskimos and the Rough Riders. And here's Gord Miller.
Blake Marshall has scored from surprise, 1 yard out. Edmonton leads 14-3 at Taylor Field.
I think that might be a CFL record. Blake Marshall has 11 touchdowns so far this season.
He's got 12 now.
He's got 12 now. I think I've seen at least 6 from 1 yard out.
Toronto Argonauts are getting pretty thin along that offensive line today. Of course, they lost Kelvin Prunster this week with the knee injury, and that meant Jimmy Kardash, who was normally a backup, has come in. Blaine Schmidt is now in the football game as a replacement for Chris Schultz, but Beckstead was out earlier. He's had to come back in now, so Argonauts having their problems, having some healthy bodies. Still got John Coughlin left, so Argonauts aware of their thin situation. Have dressed a couple of extra offensive linemen for this afternoon. There's Blaine Schmidt. Snapper on all 3rd down kicking situations.
They're almost to that right now at 2nd and 24. Back at the 21. Marker is down. As Ismail takes the toss from Ricky Foggy, and he is snowed under by several Stampeders. Stu Laird is on top of the pile. And the Rocket is at the very bottom. Will Johnson on top of him as well. Procedure against the Argos. They weren't going very far in that play anyway. 2nd and 24.
Procedure. Toronto had no end on the line of scrimmage. Declined, and it's 3rd down.
Here's Hank Olisic. Number 1 average in the Canadian Football League. 2nd in net punting to Bob Cameron. A boomer by Olisic this time. This is Pee Wee Smith on the return, and he tripped on the 30-yard line. 11 yards for Pee Wee that time. A booming 62-yard punt for Hank Olisic.
10 o'clock Eastern time, the CFL report. That is followed by football. Saskatchewan and BC at 10:30 Eastern time. And were we just in BC, guys?
As a matter of fact, first thing this morning we were in BC. Across the Rockies, right to McMahon Stadium in Calgary to watch the Argos and the Stampeders for the first time in '91.
But the BC Lions have become a very exciting team to watch this year. I can't say enough about the job that Bob Obilovich has done, the player personnel director Bill Quinter, kind of young players they have brought into the league, and guys like Matt Clark, O.J. Brigance, Darren Flutie, John Volpe. There's so many young fellows who played so well.
Take your set quick on it. Just try to get to it. Keep it open. So we're just not getting the lane to throw right now. He's taking it straight back into us from the inside. And then
The Stampeders with
No, you're fine on it, but I'm just saying we just got to stop him up front on it.
The weak side of the run is fast enough and nothing on the strong side.
Okay.
the Stampeders wish to pass on a special welcome to the guests of Alpha Milk and
Some
Second.
adjustments on the sidelines being made to a restructured Toronto offensive line. First and 10 for the Stampeders. Steve Taylor escapes some pressure. Will he be caught from behind? Yes. But he has a gain of better than 5 yards.
Taylor, the ball carrier for the Stampeders, gain of 8 yards on the
Brian Warren caught up with Steve Taylor. That's number 44.
Taylor is playing so much better in this ball game than he did last week against Edmonton. I mean, he's trying to find a receiver, but nobody comes open, and he knows that the Argonauts are taking those deep drops at the middle, at the linebacking positions. He has room to run. I think he's doing a good job here.
8-yard gain.
Those are pretty good numbers.
Second and 2. You're right. Keevan Jenkins is stopped before he got rolling by Harold Hallman. Brian Warren.
The tackle for the Argos. Little or no gain.
I think Harold Allman got a little quick start. That's why he was in on the tackle so quickly.
(9-7) Stampeders leading the Argos. 9:24 to go.
Offside. Toronto number 70. First down.
No question, he jumped a little early. Top of your screen, here he comes, slanting down, trying to get a little jump on the snap. They caught him.
First and 10, Calgary at the 46. Taylor had some trouble initially and then gets out to the 50-yard line for about 4 yards.
Taylor, gain of 5
Don
yards.
Bone, number 36.
Don Bone, the tackle
Out of UBC and native of Swift Current, Saskatchewan. Has been the Argo leader for a year or two now, hasn't he?
Yes, he has. He's Iron Man on that group. Never missed a ball game.
10 seasons.
That's a pretty good record, isn't it?
Absolutely. It'll be 2nd and 6. As the Stampeders flank 85. Carl Bland to the near side. Pee Wee Smith to the top of your screen. Taylor in trouble. He gets it away. Going deep for Pitts. Just tips. Carl Brazeley reacted just in time. Pitts got behind the cover.
Third down, Stampeders.
Alan Pitts was in behind the coverage, but you'll see Steve Taylor, when he has to move to his left, it's the toughest spot to throw for a quarterback. The pressure is coming, and you know, he had Darryl Ford right in his face there, and he just couldn't reach back and unload the long bomb. Had he been able to, Alan Pitts was in behind the coverage, no question about that. Here he is there, a little push off at the end, but
Brazeley reacted well, though.
he did.
Third down punt. Taken by Ismail. And he stopped short of the 20-yard line. Penalty markers are down after an 8-yard return.
And this is a good call. Dan Wicklum, 35, comes in late. He puts the helmet in when the Rocket is vulnerable on the ground. It's spearing or roughing, whatever you want to call it, but I think that's an excellent call. The Rocket is down, and that's not a good way to play.
Major foul. Spearing. Calgary number 35. First down.
No, I like Danny Wicklum. He's a good guy off the field. He's a real pleasant fellow, but really there's no call for that. The Rocket, who is an exciting player in the league, was down on the ground, very vulnerable, and you'll see at the end of this, number 35 comes in as the Rocket is on the ground and leads with his helmet right into the rib area.
Cheap shots.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. And anytime you lead with that helmet when somebody's down on the ground, I mean, they're going to call it right away. Dan Wickham knows that. He's a smarter player than that. But you know, one thing Adam Reed will tell you, he says, we knew the Rocket was a great talent. We didn't know how tough he really was. And I think that proves it right there. He just bounced up and ran off the field.
First down, Argos. Intended for Jeff Boyd.
Pass intended for Jeff Boyd. Incomplete.
And Carl Anthony was covering on Boyd.
Second down, Argonauts.
20 receptions, 363 yards, and 2 touchdowns for Boyd so far. Ismail apparently just having the wind knocked out of him.
3. He's got to stay on him now.
Sit down. Just sit right down.
Hey, Mike.
Dunnigan is gone already. Second and 10. Foggy near side. And Anthony covering once more on Jeff Boyd.
Intended for Jeff Boyd. Broken up by
Stampeders leading the Argos by 2. It's 9-7 with 7:21 to go till halftime at McMahon in Calgary.
Here's Jeff Boyd out here working on Carl Anthony. And when he comes down on that out, you'll watch it. We'll clear quickly here, but he never gets Carl Anthony out of his back pedal. That's what you have to do as a wide receiver. You have to turn and get him to run. See, Anthony never really runs, and then he's able to get back and break it up. And unless Boyd pressures that corner a little harder, they're not going to complete too many passes to him today.
Olisic boomed one last time. This one may be deeper. Tucker. Errol Tucker bobbled it, and fortunately for the Stampeders, they are able to recover. Pee-wee Smith helping out on the rookie. Errol Tucker. High kick by Olisic. Stampeders still lead by 2.
One on a 1-yard run, Saskatchewan has cut the Edmonton lead to 4. It's 14-10 Eskimos at Taylor Field. Here at McMahon Stadium, Rocket Ismail insists that he is only winded. However, the doctors were concerned that he was a little dizzy and think that, in fact, he may have a slight concussion. He is a little groggy on the side of the field, and it may be a while before we see him back.
John Candy, co-owner of the Argos, might be a little concerned about the turn of events with Rocket being shaken up here. His pal Wayne Gretzky hurt in the Canada Cup last night. His pal and partner.
And, of course, Matt Dunnigan going down in the first quarter. Wow.
First and 10 Stampeders now from the 28. A bounce pass to Sean Beals. Steve Taylor. It'll be second and 10. 9-7 Stampeders lead the Argos. As Leaf mentioned a few moments ago, Steve Taylor is having a much better outing than he had last week against his former team, the Eskimos.
I think one of the biggest differences is he looks a lot more relaxed this afternoon. I mean, playing at home would help. It's not fun starting your first pro game up in Edmonton. That's a tough place to go and play.
And I think it would be even more pressure-filled as a situation against the team that you played with for a couple of years. Taylor in some difficulty there as he stumbled.
Taylor now on the play, lost 2 yards, 4 yards on the play.
Tripping over Doug Davies' foot on the exchange from center. And there's another injured Argo.
That's exactly what it was. As Doug Davies snapped the ball and backed up and took his drop to pass protect, he actually stepped on the foot of Steve Taylor and tripped him up just enough.
Just as we started talking about Steve Taylor's afternoon, he bounced one in the flat to Sean Beals and then got tangled up with the center.
Never fails.
Second start in the CFL for Steve Taylor, and standing by, Gilbert Renfro. Last game in the CFL was right here 2 years ago today. Toronto against the Calgary Stampeders, and Renfro was yanked in that game as the Stampeders came on to win 36-16. Who was the Argo quarterback who replaced Gil Renfro that afternoon?
Oh, I think it was Bobby McAllister. How's that?
I keep feeding you the information.
I do that. That's an you got to get him a little tougher than that.
Hollister's career was not exactly a long and illustrious one in the league.
Tell me where he was from.
You got me there.
Michigan State.
6:16 to play till halftime. And Harding is being attended to. At the Argo bench.
That does not look good.
Dan Wicklum was called for a late hit on Rocket Ismail, and that is the reason that he is on the sidelines. Matt Dunnigan has already done. And the Stampeders move to a kicking situation. Still waiting for Rodney Harding to make his way to the sidelines. So with Rocket on the sidelines, Darrell Smith is back for this punt return. Penalty markers are down as Smith finds some open room and gets inside the 30, turning it into a great return that may be called all the way back. 52 yards for Darrell K. Smith on a 48-yard punt.
Nice numbers, but it won't mean a whole lot because this one is coming back.
55 yards.
He did a nice job to break this one. Darrell Smith, I think you're going to see it. No question, there's a block. I can't see who it was. It was number 29, Marcus Thomas, hit somebody in the back, and that cost them a lot of yardage.
Illegal block. Toronto number 29. First down.
So Smith had picked up a couple of yards before the block.
We talk a 52-yard punt return, a 10-yard penalty. I mean, that's 62 yards of offense right there that you've lost. That's tough.
It's a 2-point ball game with the Stampeders leading the Argos 9-7. First and 10 Toronto with Ricky Foggy at quarterback and room to run for Foggy. Will have a first down. Now he's out to midfield. Inside the 40. Ricky Foggy has one man to beat, and Darrell Hall brings him down. 62 yards for Ricky Foggy, and no penalty markers on that one.
So they got the 62 back that they just lost in a hurry here on one play by Ricky Foggy, and he has got a good passing arm, but this is really what he does best and runs. Look at that, he breaks the tackle of Kenton Leonard right there, and his receivers do a good job downfield of blocking for him. Darrell Smith got a block, and that is a brilliant run.
Ismail is being taken to the dressing room. It is more than just the wind knocked out.
Yeah, he doesn't look good. I hope he's not hurt seriously.
First and 10 Argos. Foggy just missing Darrell K. Smith.
Ricky Foggy's pass intended for Darrell K. Smith, incomplete on the play. Darrell Hall coverage.
Well, Rocket Ismail just got worse and worse on the sidelines. They kept asking him questions, and he kept getting groggier and groggier. He says he's winded, but it's obvious he has a pretty bad concussion. They're going to take him to the dressing room for further examination, but they're saying, in all likelihood, his day is also over.
As is Matt Dunnigan's. But Ricky Foggy is directing an impressive Argo drive here. Second and goal to go. Stampeder 9. Foggy, end zone toss, touchdown. Trumaine Johnson, number 85. And that's his first touchdown reception of 1991.
And he's taking the ball home.
Why not? 9-yard TD. Argos jump into the lead for the first time.
Really made a nice adjustment at the end of the pass play. Kenton Leonard could not find the football.
Lance Chummick looks to make it 14-9. And it is. So the Argos set up on a key 62-yard run by quarterback Ricky Foggy. Have taken the lead.
Here we go to the southeast pass gate. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to draw your attention to the 30-yard line.
Toughest thing really for a defensive back to do is to locate the football in the end zone. Here's Tremaine Johnson right here and Kenton Leonard. Man-to-man coverage. Now Johnson is going to take it up the field. You're going to lose them right there, but we'll let it run. And Kenton Leonard just does not see the football. Ricky Foggy with not a great pass. In fact, he throws it behind Tremaine Johnson, but Kenton Leonard cannot get the head around to locate the football. Johnson sees it all the way. He makes the adjustment. He has his first touchdown, and the Argonauts back in front, 14-9.
Tremaine Johnston, who just scored the touchdown, is being attended to. Pee-wee Smith forced to the sidelines and starting out across the 25. He had a great week last week against the Edmonton Eskimos. 2 kick returns for touchdowns.
Boy, that was amazing, wasn't it? Edmonton Eskimos had a 31-6 lead at halftime, and before the third quarter was 2 minutes old, it was like
we blinked.
Yeah,
and all of a sudden
3 touchdowns were scored on kick returns. Sapunjis had 1, and Pee-wee Smith, of course, with a couple.
And prior to that, Henry Williams had 2 for the Eskimos.
Yeah, 5 in one game. Quite something.
1st and 10, Stampeders from the 42. Steve Taylor away from Ford. Good run by Taylor. He'll have the first down. And he's inside the Argo 50. He has been effective when he's run the football. Steve Taylor, a 20-yard gain. And he looked to be trapped and caught a couple of times.
Well, I think we're going to see a lot of this afternoon from both quarterbacks, Steve Taylor and Ricky Foggy. Initially, good coverage by Carl Brazeley downfield on Pitts, and he couldn't get it into him, so not take a chance, tuck it under your arm and run with it. And Steve Taylor providing some offense of his own today. 6 carries, 71 yards. That is an excellent first half for him.
1st and 10. Stampeders and Taylor in trouble again. Can he get away this time? Throwing on the run, far side. No catch. Alan Pitts looked to be in position to make the reception.
Second down.
Alan Pitts does a nice job to work his way free for a quarterback that's in trouble. There's the initial. He's running a hook. Now he sees his quarterback in trouble, keeps working, and then really should have made this catch.
I'd say you're absolutely right. It is 2nd and 10.
Well, you can't get on him. I mean, he has had a super year so far. I guess he's allowed to have one occasionally.
69 receptions, over 1,000 yards coming into this game. 2nd and 10 from the 48. Taylor with all kinds of time. Now he's in trouble and down. Mike Campbell, number 99, leading the Argos to the quarterback bedtime.
Sacked on the play by Campbell, loss of 6 yards. 3rd down, Stampeders.
It'll be 3rd and 10, Stampeders, with 3:02 to go until halftime.
You know, sometimes we talk about a coverage sack, and this is really what happens. Pee-wee Smith up here quickly on Ed Berry, hook and go. Ed Berry will have nothing of it. You'll see Steve Taylor as he drops back to throw. That's who he wants to hit, the hook and the go. Ed Berry right there. The coverage is so good that allows Mike Campbell to come up with the sack. But, you know, you hear us talk so many times about a coverage sack. That's a perfect example of it right there.
Ricky Foggy has the Argos in the lead on a 62-yard run to set up a touchdown. It's 14-9 Toronto. 3 minutes to go till halftime on our game of the week. Live from McMahon Stadium in Calgary, Toronto. Leading Calgary 14-9. The Argos have come back to take the lead. Stampeders are set to kick. To recap the medical report so far, Rocket Ismail is out of the game, at least for now. Matt Dunnigan is through for the afternoon for the Argos. And we're still awaiting further word on the condition of the Rocket. 3rd down. Matic for Darrell K. Smith. To grab the ball was Don Wilson, and he draws the flags. Pretty heads-up play by Wilson, really.
Yeah, really smart play. And that's not one of those ones where the guys are trying to get out of the way and they'll only call it 5. I think they'll call that one a 15-yard penalty because of the heads-up play of Donnie Wilson.
No yards. Calgary 35. Bounce back rule, 5-yard penalty. First down.
Oh, I don't know about that one. I mean, I just said that this is a good play by Wilson to grab the 15. I think it is. Nevertheless, Dave Ewell and his crew see it as a minor infraction and only call a 5-yard penalty. Dan Wicklum, who has put the Rocket on temporary hold.
Yeah, and he's not the most popular guy even in Calgary right now, I wouldn't think. No, because it was not a good hit.
No, it wasn't.
Foggy looks deep, wide open down the sidelines. Here go the Argos. Jeff Boyd, the touchdown.
Quarterback
85 yards, Ricky Foggy to number 80, Jeff Boyd.
85 yards to Jeff Boyd. And an Argonaut touchdown.
Third touchdown of the season for Boyd.
Nothing fancy about this one. A little play fake to try and hold everybody. It did the job on Junior Thurman. Held him long enough. He just totally disregarded Jeff Boyd, let him get in behind him, and that ball was right on the money.
Great job, man. Great job, man.
Lance Chamick with a point after to give the Argos a 21-9 lead on the Calgary Stampeders. 2 touchdowns in a row. Ricky Foggy has looked extremely sharp on his last 2 drives. A long pass to Boyd, and prior to that, a 62-yard run set things up for the Argos, their first touchdown. Leaf.
Well, he really has made things happen. There you see Junior Thurman up at the top of your screen, and he just totally disregarded Jeff Boyd as he went by. Not really fancy. 2 streaks by all your receivers, and Ricky Foggy was able to pick it up, but surprising that Junior Thurman, who has had a great year so far, he does not make many mistakes in the secondary, would make one there, and just allowing Jeff Boyd to sail past him.
The Argos have 14 points in 2 minutes and 7 seconds on the clock.
Well, this is the one thing, you know, John, we've talked about it before. The Toronto Argonauts seem to face adversity so well. I mean, they have had their share of injuries this year, quarterbacks and running backs, defensive players, but week in and week out, whoever is in the lineup seems to perform so well. Today, another case of it. Their stars are out, but the other guys pick up the slack.
On the return for the Stampeders, Pee Wee Smith, and he has room down the far sideline. Smith has 2 to beat and can't get by Paul Nastasiuk, who is back in the lineup after being shaken up earlier, but a great return for Pee Wee Smith. 55 yards for Smith.
Well, we give the Argonauts accolades, but how well they play with injuries to key players. The Stampeders, on the other hand, are a team that will never quit. I mean, they are down now. They've seen the momentum of the game switch around, but time after time, it's a key return that gets them back into a football game. This time, Pee Wee Smith with another good one, and they start their possession inside Toronto territory.
At the 48-yard line, it is 1st and 10 Calgary. Taylor has it batted down.
Daryl Ford can't believe it. It went right into his arms. Had he been able to squeeze this thing, nobody was in front of him. Steve Taylor had problems with this last week, kind of tunnel vision. He just does not see the defensive player, so intent on getting it into Andy McVeigh, he doesn't see anything else happening around him, and Daryl Ford almost had one.
Ford has 1 interception so far in 91. 2nd and 10. Stampeders at the 48. Early movement from the Argos side. Could be a free one for Taylor. He found Keevan Jenkins all alone.
Taylor's pass to Keevan Jenkins incomplete. Flags on the play.
Jenkins was ready to run, Leaf.
I think that's safe to say.
I got it.
Offside. Toronto number 44. Second down repeated.
So the Stampeders draw a bit of a break after Jenkins dropped that one. 2nd and 5. Offside was Brian Warren. 2:18 to go till halftime. 2nd and 5. Taylor, far side. Intending that for Carl Bland, the wide receiver out of Virginia Union.
Pass intended for Bland incomplete.
So it's quickly 3rd and 5. The Argos in front, 21-9.
Stampeders.
A long field goal try by Mark McLaughlin. 50 yards away. His longest on the season is 44. McLaughlin struggled a little bit over the last couple of weeks as a kicker. On target this time. A big 50-yard field goal for Mark McLaughlin.
He had plenty of room on that one, too. That we'll file that one away for later on in the game if they need a long one to have a chance to win or so. But he had that 50-yarder by a good 10 yards.
21-12 now. The Argos in the lead.
Blake Marshall has scored again for Edmonton, his 2nd touchdown of the game. Kent Austin responded with a 10-yard pass to Don Narcisse. It's 21-17 Edmonton at halftime. By the way, Blake Marshall now has 13 rushing touchdowns in the year, 10 of them from the 1.
10 from the 1.
10 yards to score 60 points. Not bad. Put that in perspective.
He is more than a 1-yard runner.
Oh, he is a tremendous runner. A lot of fun to watch.
1st and 10 as Foggy escapes. Lost the football. Stampeders have it right back. Kent Warnock stripped the ball away from Ricky Foggy, and number 79, Walter Ballard, has the turnover.
2nd time that they have done that to Toronto quarterbacks this afternoon. Earlier to Matt Dunnigan, now to Ricky Foggy, and it looked as though Foggy had made a good decision to run it downfield, but as he cuts back in, Kent Warnock is there to strip the ball loose. Walter Ballard with the recovery, and once again, another turnover in Toronto territory, and the Stampeders have good field position. They've just scored a field goal. Now they have a chance to get right back in this one.
It is 21-12. The Argos leading the Stampeders. On 1st and 10. A big hit on the sidelines on Andy McVeigh.
Taylor's pass complete to Andy McVeigh.
Reggie Pleasant was covering.
6 yards on the play.
7 yards the gain. And 1:55 to go to the half.
What's Hank doing?
I'm not sure.
Oh, I think he was stretching the quads out, I guess.
Taylor lost the ball. Flag is down. The Argos have it as Don Moen comes up with a loose football.
The ball is fumbled, recovered by Don Moen. There's a flag on the play.
I don't know what in the world Steve Taylor was trying to do there. He seemed like he was trying to throw some kind of pass.
The penalty flag will not be a reprieve for the Stampeders. It looks like holding against Calgary.
Back and have another look at this one.
Steve Taylor does not want to see this play again.
As he goes a little farther, it looks as though he wants to try and shovel it to somebody, but Rodney Harding bats it loose, and Toronto Argonauts recover. So back-to-back fumbles, one by each team.
The turnovers are even at 2-2. 1:45 till the half, and Ricky Foggy ends up on his backside. The turf monster got him.
Turf monster again. Quarterbacks having trouble with their footwork this afternoon. Both of them. This time, Ricky Foggy steps back from center and just trips over those size 11s.
A couple of plays might make the highlight reels here this afternoon. The loss is 16. It is 2nd and 16 for the Argos at the 30. Foggy stands in, delivers to Darrell K. Smith. He might have enough for the first down.
Darrell K. Smith, a gain of 15 yards on the play.
Darrell Ford, who has been extremely busy this afternoon, makes the stop after a 16-yard gain. And we'll have a peek here.
See, Darrell Smith reads zone right now. Now he knows he has to get in underneath Dwan Brandon. He works back to the quarterback, and that's why he is the all-time leading Argonaut receiver in yardage. He is a smart receiver. Ricky Foggy pays the price for delivering that football.
To his hat?
Warnock had it in his hand.
It is a first down for the Argos. Foggy will take off again. Needs one block, gets it, and slides across the 55.
The one block you were talking about was from number 15, J.P. Esquardo. And Ricky Foggy, I thought, set it up pretty well himself. Let Esquardo get into position and cut in behind his block to pick up a few more extra yards. But the Argonaut backs and receivers do a very, very good job downfield blocking for their quarterbacks when they run the ball. There is Jean-Paul Esquardo.
You say that name so well.
Well, I was told how to pronounce it.
You must have been in an Italian restaurant somewhere lately.
I was.
Yeah. 48 seconds till halftime. 1st and 10 for the Argos. The Stampeder 53. Good fake by Foggy. Has Esquardo coming out of the backfield, and he has a first down.
Foggy's pass complete.
13 yards.
A gain of 13 yards.
Juan Brandon, number 97, making the tackle for the Stampeders. So with 33 seconds to go to the half, Argos continue the drive.
The play fake freezes Dwan Brandon, 97. He has no chance to stay with Esquardo out in the flat, and that is good. A nice execution by Ricky Foggy.
22 seconds left till halftime. Foggy forced out by Finley.
Foggy, a gain of 1 yard.
That's what you have to do to stop Ricky Foggy. It's the linebacker's responsibility. Matt Finley, Alondra Johnson, and Dwan Brandon, they are the ones that are going to have to take control of Foggy's running. That time, Matt Finley with a good job to force Ricky Foggy out of bounds.
16 seconds till halftime. A chance for one play before the field goal try. Argos are 2nd and 10 at the 40-yard line. Foggy looks deep. Is it picked off in the end zone? Carl Anthony thought he had an interception. Masadi was right there, and they rule it no catch. Either way.
Carl Anthony replacing Ronnie Hopkins in the lineup at that left cornerback position, does a nice job, comes up over the top of Mazzati, and it looks initially as though he had an interception, but
not from that angle.
No, couldn't hang on to it as he hit the ground.
47 yards.
Tough defense stalled by the Stampeders.
So the Argos will get a chance for a field goal with 9 seconds to play. This will be Paul Masadi holding for Lance Chomick, and this is not the regular combination. Masadi gets it down. Chomick is wide. Last play of the half. And Pee Wee Smith gets out of the end zone. Out to the 7-yard line. He's stopped there, and time has run out on the Calgary Stampeders and the Toronto Argonauts. It is 21-12 Argos, who scored 2 touchdowns in 2 minutes in the second quarter to take the lead. It is halftime at McMahon Stadium in Calgary. Let's join Gord Miller.
Thanks very much, John. With Matt Dunnigan. Matt, what happened?
I'm really not quite sure. I got hit from the blind side. It's in the throwing motion, and somebody came up. I think it was Will Johnson came up underneath my pads and drove me to the turf and separated the AC joint in my throwing arm.
Any idea how serious it might be, how long you might be out?
No, I thought I'd be able to go, and then over the course of about a minute, things stiffened up just like that, and didn't have much movement at all. It's one of them things. I think somebody's put a curse on me, and but you know, we've got capable people, and Ricky Foggy's gone out there and done one heck of a job, put us in the lead, and we're in a good position to take this thing home with us.
Matt, finally, can you put into words for us how aggravating this has been?
I really can't, Gord. It's a situation where anybody who's been watching the last couple of years has got to know what I'm feeling right now. It's just that happens. It's part of the game. You accept it. You don't try to understand it. You just try to work with it and help out in other ways, and that's exactly what I'm going to try to do.
Matt, thanks very much. Speedy recovery.
Thanks, Gord.
Argo quarterback Matt Dunnigan at halftime. The Argos lead the Stamps 21-12. Back with more from McMahon Stadium in a moment on the Game of the Week on TSN. Argos lead the Stampeders 21-12 after 30 minutes. Welcome back to halftime. I'm Gordon Miller. While ownership and expansion have been major topics in the CFL this week, the league continues to attempt to find a buyer for the Ottawa Rough Riders. But here in Calgary, the Stampeders think they're close. And joining me now is Stampeder President Don Park. Don, the group headed by Larry Rickman, a local Calgary businessman. How is that bid coming with your team?
Well, it's moving along, I think, to closure probably sometime this week, or we'll probably be taking it forward to our board of directors early this week.
What exactly is the deal? Will they assume this team's dead?
Well, I can't really disclose some of the terms that we've been negotiating over for some period of time. They will, of course, be released in due course, but that's all private at this point.
Is private ownership the way teams in this league will go? Right now, if your team is sold, it would seem like Winnipeg and Edmonton would remain the final community owned. I mean, Saskatchewan is owned by a consortium as well.
Well, I think the vitality that private ownership can bring to a team is what's really required, and I believe that that's the way it will turn, and maybe Saskatchewan and Edmonton in due course will follow.
Speaking with John Candy on the other sideline a few moments ago, and he was talking about potential expansion to Portland. Now, they don't want to let the cat out of the bag with what negotiations are like down there. What's your opinion of expansion?
Well, I'm supportive. I think we're limited to expansion in Canada, and John Candy is quite a chap, and I think he's got some good ideas, and there's a lot of interest in the U.S. We've had people send money up to have a deposit held for a particular city, and I think under the right circumstances, that's probably the way to go.
Thanks very much, Don, and hope you get the for sale sign down soon.
Lord, thank you.
Stampeder President Don Park. His team is trailing at the half, and we will have more from McMahon Stadium. You're watching the CFL Game of the Week live on TSN. The Argos lead the Stampeders 21-12 after 30 minutes of play here at McMahon Stadium. Much of the story of the first half is who is no longer playing. Matt Dunnigan and Rocket Ismail both injured in that first half. But despite that, the Argos put some big numbers on the board. For analysis of the first half, let's go to John and Lee.
All right, Gord, Ricky Foggy came on and did a very good job for the Argos, but let's start with how the Calgary Stampeders began under Steve Taylor.
Hey, I think the Calgary Stampeders, they don't have a great running game, but certainly, as we mentioned in the first half, when they get into scoring territory, the running game certainly does not let them down. Keevan Jenkins from the 3-yard line here got a good block from Tony Spallettini, and then he absolutely runs over Chris Gaines to get into the end zone. Calgary up 8-0 early.
Here's the Rocket in action. Nice catch and a 42-yard touchdown as a result.
Statue of Liberty play, the handoff to Rocket. Will Johnson thought he had the sack. Good block by Blaine Schmidt right there. And then it is the speed of Raghib Ismail as he is into the end zone with his 3rd rushing touchdown of the season. He got Toronto back into the game.
But right after that, a cheap shot by Dan Wicklum.
Yeah, you hate to see this. The Rocket very vulnerable down there. And there comes Dan Wicklum with the helmet right in. The Rocket is out of the football game. Hey, look, we all want to see this guy play. We don't want to see him hurt. A cheap shot by Wicklum.
And Foggy to Boyd, an 85-yard touchdown connection right here.
One of the few mistakes the Calgary Stampeders really made on defense. Junior Thurman just let Jeff Boyd sneak in behind him, and no contest is the perfect throw by Ricky Foggy. 85 yards later, Jeff Boyd is into the end zone, but I've been impressed with both quarterbacks. Steve Taylor in a backup capacity comes in for Danny Barrett. He has run the football fairly effectively. Ricky Foggy, he has run the football really effectively.
Anything with Ricky Foggy at quarterback.
No, in fact, you know what? Matt won't like me to say this, but I think they almost have a little more with Ricky Foggy in there because of his running ability. Matt Dunnigan does not run the football like he used to, and pretty good spot for Foggy to be in right now.
Foggy and the Toronto Argos have the lead at halftime here at McMahon Stadium as we get set for the second half kickoff between the Calgary Stampeders and the Toronto Argonauts. It is the Argos in front by 9.
We'll be back with more from McMahon Stadium in Calgary. You're watching the CFL live on TSN. General Motors, the Argos with the edge in net yards, but only 150 passing yards. Keep in mind that 85 of those came on one play to Jeff Boyd for the touchdown. Both teams turn over the ball twice.
And getting set now for the second half kickoff as the Calgary Stampeders kick deep to the Argos. This is Carl Brazeley on the return. Brazeley has some room. Good Good return by Braisley out across the 50 to the 54-yard line. A 33-yard return, and Braisley is stopped by Mark Singer, number 44. Here's Ricky Foggy, 5 of 12, 128 yards, 2 touchdowns. So those numbers don't speak volumes in one sense, but he had a 62-yard run in there and has kept several drives alive along the ground.
That is what has made him effective in the first half, no question about that. There is Matt Dunnigan, separated shoulder. The list of injuries for the Argonauts go on and on.
1st and 10, Foggy for J.P. Esquardo. Met heartily at the 50-yard line.
Complete to
Warren Brandon, number 97.
Make it 6 yards on the play. Go on, Brandon, the tackle for the Stampeders.
21-12, the Argos lead the Stampeders. Gain will be 6, 2nd and 4. Foggy, far side, intended it for Darrell K. Smith.
Foggy's pass.
Darrell Hall, number 7, was with DK all the way.
3rd down, Argonauts.
I thought Darrell Hall did a fantastic job in coverage on Darrell Smith, and here he breaks on the football just as it arrives. He's there with the hit on Darrell K. Smith. He cannot hang on to the football, but tremendous anticipation by Darrell Hall to break that pass play up. That is good defense. You know, the Calgary Stampeders, for the most part, have not made a great deal of mistakes this afternoon. Just the one by Junior Thurman to allow Jeff Boyd in behind him. But for the most part, that secondary plays pretty solid football.
Hank Olisic from his 45. Errol Tucker on the return. He's out near the 20, stopped at about the 18. J.P. Esquardo makes the stop after a 20-yard gain and a 53-yard Olisic punt.
Well, don't count the Riders out just yet. Dave Ridgway kicked a 36-yard field goal to cut the lead to 1, and then Willis Jaycox, an 84-yard punt return touchdown. Saskatchewan leads 27-21 in a key game at Taylor Field as Saskatchewan tries to put the heat on Edmonton in that race for 3rd in the West.
Stampeders here have made a quarterbacking change. It is Gil Renfro in his first appearance in Canada in 2 years. In fact, it was 2 years ago today. Sean Beals has the first reception from Gil Renfro. The last time he was here was as a quarterback for the Toronto Argonauts.
We had a lot of fun watching Gil Renfro in his years in Toronto and spent some time with the Ottawa Rough Riders. He will add something to this Calgary offense, no question about that. Extremely strong arm, and his running abilities are very good as well.
1st and 10. Stampeders from the 30. Renfro for Sean Beals, and Braisley read it well.
Renfro's pass complete to
Well, this is a great play if you can get the block at the initial point of attack, and that means the block on Carl Braisley. Andy McVeigh can't get out quick enough, Pitts can't get out quick enough, and Carl Braisley has a free shot to come in and make the play, which he did.
A loss of 1, 2nd and 11. Stampeders trailing 21-12. Procedure call against Renfro in Calgary. Third quarter is just underway. It'll be 2nd and a bunch for the Stampeders now. Renfro out to his right. Sean Beals has the first down on 2nd and 16. Don Wilson and Chris Gaines make the tackle on Sean Beals.
Don Wilson on the tackle for the Argonauts.
Nice job by Sean Beals. He's in the zone defense. He's going to come all the way down and find that open area let it run. But he really works hard to find that open spot between Don Wilson. There it is right there. He settles down in that open spot. Good delivery by Gil Renfro. That shows you what kind of arm he's got.
Keevan Jenkins trips as he crosses the line of scrimmage.
Gain of 2 yards on the play.
The gain is 2.
Holman on the stop for the Argonauts.
I think it was a fabulous acquisition when they were able to get Gil Renfro. He was turned loose by the Atlanta Falcons after spending a couple of seasons with them in backup capacity, and now with Danny Barrett on the sidelines to get a proven quality quarterback. It's quite an accomplishment.
Barrett will be out for another 4 weeks. 2nd and 8. Renfro stands in, now has to escape. He's caught from behind. Mike Campbell, number 99. There's a penalty marker down. Could be a late hit on Chris Gaines, number 38. Piling on.
Campbell with the good pressure in the sack initially, but the Argonauts will give up 15. Good pressure coming up front. Coverage in the secondary. Now Renfro has to scramble, and here comes Mike Campbell from behind. He trips him up, but watch Chris Gaines. And the referees will call that every time. It's like the Wicklum play. When the guy is on the ground, you can't touch him.
The Argos initially had Renfro for a loss of 11. All of a sudden, it's 1st and 10. Stampeders from their 47, trailing 21-12. Nice catch, and it'll be a 1st down. Sean Beals, number 88.
Complete. The number 88, Sean
He's been the primary receiver on this drive.
And here he comes downfield. Watch him curl right around Darryl Ford here and find the open hole, but he really works hard. See, there's Ford. He's running with him. Now Ford can't find him. Watch him come back into the hole right there. That is good technique as a receiver.
And a good stretch for the catch. From the 52, 1st and 10, Calgary. Alan Pitts can't get away from Reggie Pleasant.
Alan Pitts, gain of 4 yards on the play. Reggie Pleasant on the tackle for the Argonauts.
Argonauts playing a lot of zone defense here in the 3rd quarter, and that's actually to the advantage of Gilbert Renfro. He doesn't have to try and read the blitz and pick out the open receiver in man-to-man coverage. He understands his own defense in the CFL, and I think if Toronto stays in that, Gil Renfro can have a good second half. You got to put a little more pressure on him. Sorry, John.
2nd and 4. Renfro has looked sharp and finds Andy McVeigh for the 1st down. Pleasant forced him out with a little help from Chris Gaines.
Well, Toronto went to the man-to-man coverage, and Chris Gaines had Andy McVeigh in coverage, and with the play action, he just could not get out and follow him. Chris Gaines with a roughing penalty, and then fooled on that play action right there, and he knows it. He should have had McVeigh in coverage.
Renfro has been perfect so far, 6 for 6, 55 yards as the Stampeder drive continues with another Calgary 1st down. Renfro looks deep this time, 2 receivers in the end zone, and a penalty marker comes down. Pleasant was covering on Sean Beals. He can't believe the call. Or doesn't want to believe the call.
Well, let's have a look at Sean Beals and how he ends up down there on Reggie Pleasant. Reggie Pleasant back in his deep 3rd zone, and you'll see at the end some contact between the two, and no question Pleasant with the hand in his face got called for the interference. I think that's a good call. Reggie doesn't think so, but when your back is turned to the play and you stick your hand in the receiver's face, they will call it interference or screening. Either one.
Screening, yeah. It looked like at the last second there, a hand came up in front of Beals' face. 35 yards is the net result for the Calgary Stampeders. 1st and goal to go at the Argo 1. A big hit on Keevan Jenkins, but they call it a touchdown. It is ruled a touchdown. Now the Argos are not happy about this. Keevan Jenkins looked to be stopped by Keith Costello. The indication celebration is touchdown.
Watch Keith Costello, number 37. He meets Keevan Jenkins right in the hole. What a tremendous hit, but the knees don't go down. He buckles, but he gets into the end zone.
And he falls over.
Oh, tremendous second effort right here.
Another penalty flag down. The call will go against the Argos. To the Calgary total, and the Stampeders have crept within a couple of the Toronto Argos. It's 21-19, Toronto leading Calgary early in the third.
With all fans having
21-19, the Argos lead the Calgary Stampeders at McMahon Stadium. 8:17 to go, third quarter.
If so, you're going to custom-made shirt.
And here's how the touchdown by Keevan Jenkins sounded.
Please take your winning program to the AGT Cellular
That was some hit.
booth under Section A to claim your prize.
Ready for the kickoff by Mark McLaughlin. After the Stampeders drove impressively under Gil Renfro. This is Darrell K. Smith on the return for the Argos.
65-yard kickoff.
Darcy Kopp takes the feet out from under. Darrell K. Smith, a 25-yard return.
It was a good return after a long kickoff, but it's amazing how many good returners the Argonauts really do have. I mean, you talk about the Rocket, the Pinball, Carl Brazeley, Darrell K. Smith. They can all get the job done back there. It doesn't matter who they put in. They all seem to get good production.
And we'll be sure to see you at our next home game.
So it's Rick Foggy's turn to answer the touchdown by a former Argo quarterback, Gil Renfro.
Pretty smooth drive by Gilbert Renfro. The interference penalty helped a lot, but he was 6 for 6 up to that point.
Argos begin at the 25. And a time count violation charged against Foggy. A couple of those this afternoon.
Time count violation charge. Number 14, Foggy.
I think that's why so many teams like to go to the hurry up. You know, they don't have to worry about the 20-second clock. They could just get up on the line of scrimmage and see what the defense is and make their call right there. You know, they call the play in the huddle and they want to change it. The line of scrimmage takes obviously a little more time to do that.
Johnson led the Calgary Stampeders to the quarterback. Walter Ballard also celebrating down there.
Will Johnson's had a good afternoon putting pressure on the quarterbacks. This time he slashes to the inside, and all of a sudden, before Foggy can even set up back in the pocket, Will Johnson is right there.
They may give credit to Matt Finley for that sack, and that'll be his second of the day.
Well, he should share it with that guy right there, Will Johnson.
Johnson certainly set it up. Second and 20 for the Argos. J.P. Esquardo. Grabbed by DeJuan Brandon. The loss is 2. And the Argos get set to kick it away.
That is a tough position for Ricky Foggy to be in. Second in a whole bunch of yardage to try and get for a first down, and against a defense that normally bends a little bit but doesn't really break or give up the big play. They have in the first half gave up one big one, but that is a tough spot to be in. I thought it was a good call, and you just have to rely on Hank Olisic, who's the league's leading punter, to kick you out of trouble. Boy, that's,
look at the numbers today, averaging 52.2.
You know, quarterbacks think about that stuff. They think, I'm not taking a chance here. I got a great punter on my team.
Pee Wee Smith out across midfield, so the Stampeders will have excellent field position when we return. A 13-yard return after a 55-yard illicit kick. We've got a 2-point ball game in Calgary. Quarterback Steve Taylor is done for now, but his afternoon wasn't all that ineffective for the Calgary Stampeders. He kept them close, 8 of 15, 80 yards, 1 interception. And has now given way to Gil Renfro, who has come in and driven for a touchdown the first time he's had his hands on the football. Look at those numbers.
Yes, those are a little better. Gilbert Renfro with 10 days of practice now with the club. Last week before the Edmonton game, he'd only had a couple of practices under his belt, and Wally Buono did not want to play him in that game, but that was a heck of a drive he put together. 11 plays. Interference call on Reggie Pleasant helped it a little bit, but nevertheless, 11-play drive on your first series back in the CFL. Pretty admirable job by Gil Renfro.
It might be tough to duplicate here. The Stampeders do have excellent field position beginning in midfield. Near side, Pee Wee Smith makes the catch. And he should have the first down.
To Pee Wee Smith. A gain of close to 10 yards on the play.
The Argonaut defense is really making it easy for Gilbert Renfro. They're only rushing 4 people. Calgary having no trouble pass protecting for him and playing a zone behind it. And Gil Renfro is just standing back tall in the pocket and picking out whomever he wants to in that zone. That time it was Pee Wee Smith. I think Toronto has to change up a little bit. They're predominantly a zone team on first down and a little more man-to-man on second with some blitzing behind it, but I think they have to change their pattern and try and upset the rhythm that Gil Renfro's been able to establish so far. 7 for 7.
Pee Wee Smith short by inches. It'll be second down and just that. First catch of the day for Pee Wee Smith, but he has been very effective on kick and punt returns. (21-19), the Argos lead the Stampeders.
There's my pal Srečko Zizakovic, number 96, in at tight end for a little blocking. Now, one of these days they're going to throw it to him. I don't know if it's this time, but
it's in the book. I don't know if Gil Renfro knows about it yet, though.
that could be true.
Well, Renfro elects to go for it. And he goes a little too long, intended for Alan Pitts. But a good call.
Oh, I
second and inches.
Love the call. Boy, in the Canadian League, second and inches, you know, on third down, the defense has to give you a yard, and Gilbert Renfro have no trouble picking up that first down. That is a smart call. Almost like a free play, you know. He actually overthrew that because there was such good coverage.
Now, this is not the time to go to your pal, Srečko Zizakovic.
No. Let Srečko do some serious blocking here.
It is third and inches. Stampeders inside the 45. And Renfro should have the first down with ease.
Renfro, the keeper, 1-yard gain. First down, Stampeders.
5:37 to go in the third quarter. With the Argos in front, 21-19, the Stampeders. With Renfro at the controls, have the only scoring play of the third quarter so far. Another Calgary first down, this time from the 42 of the Argos. Markers are down as Renfro hits Alan Pitts. Don Wilson made the tackle.
To Pitts. A gain of 8 yards on the play. Wilson on the tackle and play.
Argonauts changed up their style that time. Came with the blitz, put a little more pressure on that offensive line. They got the holding penalty. I could lip read correctly. I think he said 64, the left tackle, Kenny Moore. This is a tough job. You got to lip read and do all this kind of stuff up here.
Yeah, I guess the microphone is malfunctioning down there.
But I think that was good for the Argonauts. You know, they changed up their pattern on first down. They've been giving them a lot of zone looks. That time changed up. Blitz, played man-to-man. Give Renfro something else to look at.
Second and 20. Renfro gets some pursuits. Fires into the turf.
Renfro's pass incomplete.
Rodney Harding was putting the pressure on Gilbert Renfro.
Intended for Jenkins.
Keevan Jenkins really had no opportunity to make a catch.
That is a tough throw for the quarterback. Gilbert Renfro running and trying to throw back across his body, back against the grain with a guy like Rodney Harding breathing down your neck. That is almost impossible to complete that kind of a pass.
This will be the second down and 20 play. have been a great catch.
I think that's one that Gil Renfro would like to have over. The offensive line and backs did a good job picking up the blitz, giving him lots of time to throw the football. Pee Wee Smith ran a good pattern, in pattern. He was open, ball just slightly ahead and underthrown.
Brent Manage left foots this one. Down to Darrell K. Smith right at the 1-yard line. Smith is caught from behind, out around the 12. A 12-yard return after a 51-yard punt. Following this afternoon's game, we'll bring you the turning point on TSN for Tic Tac. He went out of the football game. On a punt return, a late hit by Dan Wicklum, which did draw a penalty against the Calgary Stampeders, but that's little solace for the Argos. And Dunnigan's tough luck continues. It has been one thing after another for Matt. It's not one injury reoccurring. It's one injury after another through the last 2 years.
Well, it's so tough on him personally. He must, just be thinking, like, what next? I've worked so hard. I mean, I never get to play quarterback anymore. All I do is try and rehabilitate.
I ride the bike and I push the weights and I get ready to come back again.
And then I get hurt again. That's not a lot of fun. I mean, you make a lot of money and you still get paid and all that kind of stuff. But when you're a competitor like he is, you want to be out there. You don't want to be on the sidelines with your arm in a sling. I feel really sorry for Matt Dunnigan.
1st and 10 for the Argos, beginning this drive at the 13. Ricky Foggy. And he has a completion out near the 25. Sparta, number 15. First down this half for the Toronto Argonauts. 3:28 to go in the third quarter with the Argos in front by 2. It's 21-19. 12-yard pickup sets the Argos at 1st and 10 from the 25. Foggy with time. Masadi over the middle. Nice catch. And that's the first of the ball game for Paul Masadi.
Calgary Stampeders have done a good job all afternoon putting pressure on the Toronto quarterbacks. That time's too late. Got there, but just a little too late as Foggy was able to step up and hit Paul Mazzati over the middle. 22-yard pickup and back-to-back first downs for the Argonauts. Their first 2 in the second half, and they have a nice drive engineered here.
1st and 10 now at the 47. Foggy with time again. Darrell K. Smith makes the catch. And one of the officials made a heads-up play down there, ducking out of the way as the ball came over for Darrell K. Smith. 7 yards the gain.
This is a tough assignment for a defensive back. He has to follow an inside receiver all the way across the field, but Kenton Leonard, number 30, I think does a good job. I mean, you give up 8 yards, but that is a tough assignment to follow a speedy receiver that far across the field.
It'll be 2nd and 3. And Foggy carried himself right behind the center, Ian Beckstead. Looked like the rest of the offensive line was not quite on the same page the way the play went. No flags, though.
All that matters is he got the first down and keeps it going.
Now at the Stampeder 53, and this drive began deep in Argo territory. Back at the 13. Tipped and intercepted. This is Kenton Leonard. And Leonard is taken out neatly by Bob Skemp. A big turnover by the Calgary Stampeders. Kenton Leonard on the interception takes it deep inside Argo territory.
Lucky number 37.
Turnover as the Calgary Stampeders down to the Argonaut 40.
Well, let's go back and see how this play was created. Here's DeJuan Brandon, the linebacker. Here's Darrell Smith, the inside receiver. He is going to come down and do a hook on Kenton Leonard. Brandon will drop back in the coverage, tip the ball. Leonard will make the interception on the tip drill. And the Calgary Stampeders are recipients of another Toronto Argonaut turnover, but a very heads-up play. Watch Brandon's 97. There it is, the tip up in the air. Leonard with the interception, his first of the season. And once again, the Calgary Stampeders with the turnover have themselves the Argonaut territory at the 40-yard line, and that is a nice place to start a scoring drive. Kenton Leonard, listen, if any of you young people out there are diabetics, he is too. He plays with it. Daily injections, controlled diet, he can play with it. I think that's a great story.
It is a great story, and he's had a pretty good season for the Calgary Stampeders. Third turnover given up by the Argos, and almost an incredible catch for Sean Beals, who bobbled it a couple of times and couldn't quite hang on.
Renfro pass, Kenneth Fields, incomplete.
Quick release by Gilbert Renfro. It is now 2nd and 10. Stampeders at the 40. Calgary trailing by 2 at 21-19. Pressure on Renfro. He's hit as this one is fired in the air. Jump ball. And it's picked off by Alan Pitts. Renfro was decked just as that ball was about to be released. Great play by Alan Pitts.
Oh, it really was. Watch the blitz coming right up the middle. Here comes 21 Darryl Ford. Nobody picks him up. Gil Renfro gets lucky as he throws up a jump ball, and at 6'4", Alan Pitts, the tallest guy back there, is able to go up and get the rebound.
17 yards the game. 1st and 10 Calgary at the 23. Renfro far side with a man open, and he missed Carl Bland. Renfro was really hit on the previous play.
You know, he just sees Darryl Ford at the last second and tries to, probably shouldn't have thrown that football, but when things are going well for you, you get the breaks, and he got one right there.
Time running out on the 3rd quarter. The Argos leading by 2. 2nd and 10. Stampeders at the Toronto 23. Sean Beals. He escapes and scores. Sean Beals. He got away from Don Wilson.
Calgary receivers lined up one behind each other, Beals and Smith, and Beals cut to the inside. Wilson couldn't stay with him, and the Calgary Stampeders look pretty sharp here in the 3rd quarter.
Calgary into the lead for the first time in a long time. Now the Stampeders leading the Argos by 5. 26-21 as we head to the 4th quarter. 4th quarter just underway with the Stampeders leading the Argos 26-21 after the kickoff and the touchdown by Sean Beals. Here's a look. Reggie Pleasant. And now Argo tempers flare.
Major foul, unnecessary roughness, Toronto number 6, and Calgary number 51. First down.
So offsetting roughing penalties, and the ball will remain right where Reggie Pleasant finished off that kickoff return. The Argos, for quite some time, find themselves playing catch-up here as the Stampeders finally moved out in front 26-21.
Ricky Foggy at the controls for the Argos. 1st and 10 beginning at the 23. Blown away for Darrell K. Smith.
Look hot, okay?
John Beals is giving the Calgary Stampeders the lead.
We'll go back and see his touchdown one more time, and a missed tackle by Donnie Wilson allows him to get into the end zone, and the Calgary Stampeders to get back the lead, which they had early in the game. Saw them lose it, and now get it back.
Now 2nd and 10 for the Argos. They're down by 5. Foggy ran effectively earlier in the game and rolls for a first down here.
Ricky Foggy, gain of 14
Sreko
yards.
Zivakovic makes the tackle and actually helps with a first down.
First down, Argonauts.
Third quarter statistics brought to you by General Motors. Again, the Argos have the lead in net yards, but in passing yards, they're not quite over 200 yet. And once again, the reminder that 85 of those 196 yards came on one play, and the third Argo turnover led to the go-ahead Calgary
The
touchdown.
Safeway Football Huddle section is designed for families with specially priced tickets. Available now at all Calgary and every
Injured
Safeway
Stampeder.
and Food for Less
That's
stores.
your pal, Leif
The Dallas
Sreko
Cowboys
Zivakovic.
Cheerleader Day.
Yeah, he's a Toronto boy, and he's got a lot of family and friends back in Weston.
Today's Safeway
Sure,
family
watching the game this afternoon. Interested to see how he's doing. Missed the last 3 games with a bit of a rotator cuff problem, and he is now back in the lineup. He's kind of a favorite of mine. You know, he had a great preseason, had 5 sacks in the preseason, really won the starting job away from Stu Laird. He's from Ohio State, same neck of the woods that I went to school, so I've been interested to follow him. And so far in his brief CFL career, he's a pretty interesting guy. And you know, I watched him catching punts before the game. He's got tremendous hands.
He's an interesting guy. As he warms up for a game, he starts with AC/DC on his cassette recorder.
Oh, yeah.
Slides to something a little heavier and finishes with Guns N' Roses just to lead him right into the team prayer. That's his preparation for the game. It's true.
Get some work straight up. Guns N' Roses. My goodness.
1st and 10. Argos from the 35. Foggy far side has his man. Jeff Boyd, number 80, makes the catch. And is brought down quickly by Carl Anthony. Do you like that Guns N' Roses story?
I like that. Whatever it takes to get ready for a ball game. Everybody does it just a little differently. There's Sreko. There's my pal. He's kind of a scary looking guy, isn't he?
Smart, Mom.
Yeah. But his mother loves him. Paul Nastasiak, number 27. 1st and 10.
Gain 11 yards on the play.
And that's another first down as the Argo drive continues.
Well, they put 3 receivers to the wide side of the field, and they expect a zone from Calgary to try and go against that 3 receiver set. They get it, and Nastasiuk gets the ball quickly and then picks up some extra yards running. Now he seems like he is a little shaken up back in the huddle there. Injury bug really hitting the Argos this afternoon.
I think he was just catching his breath because he stays on the field for this play of 1st and 10. For the Argos from the 52. Foggy looking long. J.P. Esquardo the target, and he missed by about 5 yards.
And that was the matchup they wanted. Esquardo on Matt Finley. Esquardo with more speed than Finley down the sidelines. Foggy just could not hook up with him. What a bright spot he has been for the Argonauts this year. Their first selection in the 1991 draft. In fact, they traded Ryan Hansen last year to BC for that pick. And of course, it was Jean-Paul Esquardo from Calgary Dinosaurs, hometown hero here.
Yeah, he got a pretty good round of applause when he was introduced prior to the game in his first game back in Calgary with the Argos. 2nd and 10 now, Toronto at the 52. Trailing by 5, the Argos. Nastasiuk is close to a first down. We'll see where they spot the ball.
Close to 10 yards on the play.
The gain will be 9. And they'll measure it.
You know, for an offensive line like the Toronto Argonauts today, they really have their work cut out for them, because this Calgary front 4, I mean, this is not a group that, you know, comes hard for 3 plays and then maybe takes a couple of plays off to rest a little bit. They come hard on every play, and you can kind of see now in the 4th quarter the Toronto offensive linemen are getting up a little slower each time as a result of the constant pressure Calgary's front 4 is putting on them.
Slightly short of the first down. It'll be 3rd and less than a yard to go. And it will be the first down for the Argos as
Foggy for the
Foggy
Argos.
carries. Stampeders leading 26-21. Part of the story this afternoon, you're looking at the back of Matt Dunnigan. He hasn't been able to do it consistently.
No.
He hasn't been able to stay in the lineup. Out again, shoulder problems this time. First and 10 for the Argos under Ricky Foggy. And Foggy is surrounded and decked by Sreko Zivakovic.
Ricky Foggy.
That's his second sack this season.
Third. A loss of 9 yards on the play.
Mismatch up front. Sreko Zivakovic as they come with the blitz. The center Ian Beckstead cannot handle him as he crashes down and picks up his third sack of the year. And once again, that Calgary front four, well, there you see it. They have had a good afternoon. 4 times they've been able to get to Toronto quarterbacks.
Loss is 7 that time. A 5-point ball game. The Argos in second and long. Second and 17. Foggy slips. And he's intercepted. Intending that for Darrell K. Smith. It's picked out by Daryl Hall. And Hall breaks 1 tackle. And another tackle. Foggy goes over.
Foggy.
Finally slow Hall down.
55 yards of clear. First down.
So the Stampeders get another turnover and hang on to a 5-point lead. Daryl Hall has the interception as the Toronto drive stalls. Ricky Foggy would like to have this ball back. It wasn't well thrown or well thought out.
It looked as though he was trying to hit Daryl Smith over the middle, and he just simply overthrew him. Daryl Hall was right there with his second interception of the season, and once again another Calgary turnover snuffs out a Toronto Argonaut scoring drive. Gordy, what's happening in Regina?
They're lighting it up again, boys. Fourth quarter, Dave Ridgway started with a 27-yard field goal, but then Warren Jones threw an 8-yard touchdown pass to Craig Ellis, followed it up with a 23-yarder to Ellis, and the count is now 35-30 Edmonton in the fourth quarter.
Well, another interesting afternoon at Taylor Field. 26-21 here. Not quite as many points on the board yet, but there's still 10:08 to play. The Stampeders in front of the Argos by 5. First and 10 Calgary at the 36. After the interception by Daryl Hall. A 14-yard first down for the Stampeders.
Well, I think a lot of credit goes to the offensive line of the Calgary Stampeders. They had to protect a long time for Gilbert Renfro right there. He was trying to throw the out and up to the wide side of the field to Sean Beals, and that was not open. He still had all kinds of time to get out of the pocket without any harassment at all and run for a first down. So the offensive line of the Stampeders really getting the job done.
Stampeders another first down, this time from the 50-yard line. This is Keevan Jenkins, and there's a big opening for him. Ed Berry finally slowed him down, number 13. And Jenkins pops for 23 to match his number.
Good block on Mark Naperkowski by the center. Doug Davis allows Keevan Jenkins an opening to get into the secondary. And you know, we've said it before, although they are not a team that you fear with the running game, at critical times they always seem to come up with a big play on the ground and always in scoring position. Keevan Jenkins seems to be able to get it into the end zone.
8:53 to go. First down Stampeders at the 38. And no catch for Carl Bland.
Renfro's pass incomplete to Carl Bland. Berry on the coverage for the Argonauts. Second down for the Stampeders.
Gil Renfro did not start this ball game for Wally Buono. He came in relief of Steve Taylor and has given the Stampeders the lead at this point. 26-21, Calgary leading Toronto. Nowhere for Jenkins this time on 2nd and 10.
Evan Jenkins, the ball carrier, loss of 3 yards on the play.
Chris Gaines leading the Argo tacklers. Back the loss of 3.
Third down, Stampeders.
Really didn't fool the front 4 of the Argos at all. They were coming on the blitz. Chris Gaines happened to pick the right hole when he was coming through, and he met Evan Jenkins just as he received the football. But Mark McLaughlin will now come into the football game.
This will be a 47-yarder.
Yeah, he hit one from 50 earlier, so he has the range, and the wind is not a factor this afternoon here in Calgary.
Steve Taylor will hold, and McLaughlin is good.
Well, he nailed that. I mean, he made that by 15 yards, so his leg is feeling pretty frisky this afternoon.
3 more for the Stampeder total. They lead at 29-21.
In Regina, Jerry Korrick is hit from 51 yards out. He's 3 for 4 kicking field goals, and Edmonton leads 38-30 in the 4th.
And we're ready now for the Stampeder kickoff. After a 47-yard field goal at McMahon Stadium by Mark McLaughlin, Wally Buono has struggled a little bit with his Stampeders in the last little while with Danny Barrett out of the lineup. They've lost 3 of their last 4 games. But with Gil Renfro in there in the 3rd quarter, the Stampeders have looked rather impressive. They have the lead by 8 at 29-21. This is Darrell Smith. Penalty markers are down. Smith is in the lineup as a result of
65-yard kickoff taken by Darrell.
Serious injury to Rocket Ismail, or at least as the primary kick returner for the Toronto Argonauts. 25-yard return there.
Well, when you look at the Argonauts offense this afternoon, I mean, they have a lot of adversity to face. Obviously, Pinball Clements and Keith Kelly, their starting running backs, are not in the lineup. Also, you've got their starting quarterback, Matt Dunnigan. He has gone out. Rocket Ismail has gone out. I mean, you're talking 4 quality football players that are not at Adam Rita's disposal this afternoon. Pretty tough to function correctly as an offense when you have those kind of players missing.
Ricky Foggy, on the other hand, did have the team moving for a while. Let's see what he can do here on 1st down, deep in his own zone. Foggy decides to take it himself, and he's more than halfway to a 1st down.
Foggy, the ball carrier, gained 6 yards on the play.
You know, the fact remains, too, with all these injury problems and all these stars not playing, the Argos only trail by 8 points in the 4th quarter and certainly have a legitimate chance to win this football game. And that's a big reason why right there. 10 carries, 128 yards for the Fog.
The Fog?
That's what he's got in his license plate.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
The Fog.
What kind of car?
Trans Am.
Trans Am, okay. 29-21, Stampeders in front. This is 2nd and 4 as Foggy picked up 6. J.P. Esquardo lost the ball. Argos should be able to recover, but can't. The Calgary Stampeders and Junior Thurman have the football. It was right there, and 2 Argos had a shot at the football. Chris Schultz. I guess they don't call him Hands.
The hit on J.P. Esquardo right here. He cuts back in against the grain, and then the pop from Alonda Johnson, the middle linebacker. Chris Schultz has a chance at it.
So did Dan Ferroni.
Yeah, but it was Junior Thurman that came up with it. And how many times this afternoon has Toronto given it up in their own territory? Alonda Johnson with a tremendous hit as J.P. Esquardo cut it back up against the grain. And that's what you ask from your middle linebacker, someone that can cover, tackle to tackle, and when the running backs cut back against the grain, he is the guy that's supposed to be there to meet him, and he was. The Terminator. I like that name. Watch, he cuts back right here, and boom, helmet drives right through, knocks the football loose. And number 2, the Terminator, finally will come up with it.
He's had a pretty good day, Junior Thurman.
You know, you look at it 2 ways. Is Toronto making errors and giving the football up, or is Calgary playing solid defense and coming up with some key turnovers themselves? And no question in my mind, that was just a tremendous hit, causing the turnover, and a good, solid defensive play rather than the Toronto mistake.
The Argos have turned it over on their last 3 possessions. This is a dangerous one here because the Stampeders are 1st and 10 at the Argo 13. Renfro looks to the end zone, almost for Alan Pitts. He got behind the coverage of Carl Breesley. 6:47 to go, 4th quarter. Stampeders should certainly come away with points here.
Calgary really giving the Toronto Argonauts a new look where they have the receivers to both sides in kind of an I formation, so the Toronto defensive backs didn't really know who to pick up initially. Now they're not in that here, but that seemed to really fool Toronto the last time.
2nd and 10 for Renfro and the Stampeders. Punts once, and he's dragged down by Hallman, number 70. Sort of submarine there, grabbed from underneath.
Well, the good news is they didn't give up the football, so Mark McLaughlin will be able to come on the field, but just as Gilbert Renfro is setting up to throw, the pressure comes from 70 Harold Hallman. A good push up field for him, and he comes up with his 5th sack. But once again, Mark McLaughlin into this game. And this is actually a big 3 points.
Could be. 29-21 right now. McLaughlin lines up for a 27-yarder. And that one goes for a single points. Oh, well, they all can't go well. It's a 9-point ball game with the Stampeders in front, 30-21.
Kicking was a concern in Edmonton, but it doesn't seem to be any longer. Jerry Corrick is 4 for 5. His latest from 45 yards gives Edmonton a 41-30 lead with fewer than 3 minutes to play in the football game. Here the Calgary Stampeders have missed a field goal, and the lead is 9 points as a result. Mark McLaughlin has been good on field goal tries of 50 and 47, but he's missed from 37 and 27. The last miss means it's a 9-point ball game.
Maybe one guy's going to pop loose. That's why I need you to pull. All right? Just like with that last time, you get a little bit deeper so you can see what's coming loose. You know, because
so the Argos are one big play away right now, Leaf, from making a rather interesting finish. Foggy draws a penalty marker as he hits Darrell K. Smith.
Foggy pass complete. Darrell K. Smith goes to 10 yards.
Will be holding against the Argos. .546 to play in the 4th quarter. This will be 1st and 20, and the penalties certainly have hurt the Argonauts so far today. Foggy drops to throw. His Boyd couldn't make the catch. Carl Anthony, number 19, was covering on Jeff Boyd that time. Some pressure from Johnson up front on Foggy.
Well, you talk about a pure pass rusher. Number 81, Will Johnson, is just that. He comes in. It really didn't affect the throw of Ricky Foggy, but Jeff Boyd should have made this catch. We're at a critical point in the game. A little over 5 minutes remaining. The Toronto Argonauts need to get something put together here, and you just cannot afford to have your receivers dropping footballs.
And 2nd and 20 is not a great spot to be in right now. At the 25. Celebrates, so does Ken Warnock.
The Toronto receivers just looked like they gave up on that pass pattern downfield. It really didn't look like anybody. Almost looked like the receivers thought a screenplay was going to be running. They were just loafing downfield, thinking maybe they'll make a block. And obviously, have to be a concern to Adam Rito when he goes back and checks that film. They just didn't work very hard to get open for their quarterback.
So another punting situation for Hank Ilisic. Great average on the day. Earl Tucker, and there was nowhere to run for Tucker. A 2-yard return after a 43-yard punt by Hank Ilisic. 4:40 to go, 4th quarter, and the Stamps lead it by 9.
Next Saturday, we'll be in Vancouver for the CFL report in week 12 of the season. It starts at 10 o'clock Eastern time, followed by football. The Rough Riders and the Lions. Remember that 50-47 game earlier this year? Saskatchewan will be looking for revenge against Doug Flutie and company.
Stampeders ready for a first down, beginning at the Calgary 47. Gilbert Renfro has looked sharp for Calgary since coming in. Carl Bland should have made that catch. Number 85, no one was around.
Bland incomplete. Second down.
Ed Berry gave Carl Bland all kinds of room back there. Carl Bland should have made the catch. It's funny how teams call their plays, but I would think with 4:17 to go in the game, Toronto would come up and really be trying to play tight coverage on the receivers, trying to force a turnover any way they could, but they've been giving the Calgary receivers lots of room.
Second and 10. Stampeders at the 47. Renfro got heavy pressure. It was tipped up front by Chris Gaines. The Stampeders get set to kick one more time.
Chris Gaines has done an excellent job this afternoon at tipping balls that he really can't get to, but this is the second time he's been able to do that. Good pressure on Gil Renfro up front from that Toronto front four.
And a pretty good hit on Beals after the pass sailed over his head. Has trouble with a snap, and the Argos have an opportunity here. Oh my gosh, big play.
Has this been a game of mistakes or what? I mean,
there's a turnover.
That was a good snap. Wally be reaching for the roll aids after that one.
Salazar was there to supply some pressure on Matic. And it just was Matic mishandling the ball. Rick Foggy stopped for a loss on 1st and 10 after the turnover. Sreko Zivkovic, number 96.
Second down, Argos.
It'll be second down after the sack. 2nd and 12.
Ricky Foggy trying to run the football. I think he has decided that he is going to have to run it himself if they are to get back into this football game late. Sreko Zivkovic says, hey, I'm fast enough to run you down from behind.
It's a 9-point game. The Stampeders leading 30-21. 2nd and 12 for Foggy and the Argos. He looks for it all right here for Darrell K. Smith and doesn't miss by much.
Foggy's pass intended for Darrell K. Smith, incomplete. Captain Leonard on the coverage for the Stampeders. Third down, Argos.
So the Argos get a chance at a field goal here. We'll be back with 3 minutes left in the final quarter at McMahon. Smith just missing on a connection with Ricky Foggy.
Have a look. I think pretty good coverage by Kenton Leonard, number 30. He is in position that ball has to be thrown absolutely perfectly, and although it hit the fingertips of Darrell Smith, that would have been a tremendous catch.
It would have been a miracle catch. Looking at it on the replay, really.
But that was because of the good defensive position of Kenton Leonard. I mean, he was right on the inside hip, exactly where you're supposed to be.
Lance Chomick gets ready to try a field goal from a pretty good distance out. He missed earlier from 47. This is from 46 with 3:02 to go. In the fourth quarter, the Stampeders leading 30-21.
Well, you see there, he missed on the first one, but coming into this afternoon's action, 86% on his field goal attempts this year, 31 of 37. And that is a phenomenal percentage.
And after week 10, he's the leading scorer in the CFL. His longest field goal this year from 48 yards away.
This is a very critical kick, though. This is the one that could get them back into the game.
Chomick. And it's good.
46-yard field goal by Lance Chomick is good.
You know, you talked about Paul Mazzotti holding for him and the fact that Dunnigan's the regular holder, but Mazzotti used to hold for him last year, so it's something that's not unfamiliar to him.
At least not completely for it.
No.
A 6-point game, 30-24, Calgary in the lead.
Yeah, Mazzotti does a nice job to get down on the ball on the tee. Now, what you want to do on a long field goal attempt is, I was a former holder, you want to have a very light finger on the football when you're holding for that kicker on the long ones. Don't press down on that thing too hard to take any distance off it. But Paul Mazzotti did a fine job there.
2:51 to play in the fourth quarter now.
It's funny, it seems like it's been a game that Calgary has totally controlled in the second half, but strangely enough, they're only ahead by 6, and Adam Rita knows very well that his team has a tremendous chance to win this football game. He needs a little defensive support right now.
And good special teams coverage, because the Stampeders have had great field position all day.
Onside.
Stampeders come up with the ball. Did it travel 10 yards?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Darcy Kopp.
I'm really surprised at that call. Don't you think that's a surprising call?
I would think it is at this point in time, because look where the Stampeders have a first down.
You know, the way Mark McLaughlin's kicked this afternoon, I know he missed a short one, but right now they are within his range. And you know, with that kind of time remaining, you'd think you'd hope that your defense could play for you, but Adam Rita chose to try and get the onside kick. A little surprised at that one.
And with the Stampeders leading by 6, even a single point could be important right now here for Calgary on a missed field goal. But for now, it is 1st and 10 for the Stampeders. Renfro stands in and fires right through the hands of Pitts and into the hands of Carl Bland.
You get the feeling that they're kind of destined to win this football game.
I think that might be the case.
The onside kick doesn't work for Toronto, and now a tip pass. Alan Pitts through to Carl Bland. You watch this one. This is luck.
Not in the playbook.
No, certainly not.
Heads up play by Carl Bland to make the catch and set the Stampeders up 1st and 10 at the 22 of the Argos. Pee-wee Smith halfway to a first down and dropped by Reggie Pleasant. 2:21 to go, fourth quarter. It is the Stampeders by 6.
Interesting, the Calgary philosophy, though. They're not trying to grind it out on the ground to take some time off the clock. They continue to throw the football at the choice of John Huffnagel, the offensive coordinator.
They mark it a 6-yard gain. This will be 2nd and 4. Keevan Jenkins plenty for the first down. He's to the 5. The safety, Chris Mumford, made the stop.
Solid work up front from the center, Doug Davies, and the right guard, Leo Blanchard. They open a tremendous hole for Keevan Jenkins, 12-yard pickup right there. So when they have called upon the running game this afternoon, which hasn't been a great deal, they have got the job done.
A minute 52 to go. The Stampeders, 1st and goal to go at the Argo 5. Keevan Jenkins again. He's inside the 2.
You know what I like about Keevan Jenkins? I mean, nothing fancy. He saw not much of an opening, but he just went, as they say, north-south, put his head down, got underneath his shoulder pads, and he picked up about 3 or 4 yards there when it looked like he might not get anything. That is good, hard running, veteran, smart ball player, Keevan Jenkins.
They mark it as a 4-yard gain, Leaf, so it is 2nd and goal to go from the 1. Less than a minute and a half to play. Renfro doesn't make it.
Renfro,
I think it's almost to their advantage not to make it. Get another crack from the 1, let another 20 seconds run off the clock.
Or kick the field goal right here. And I think they're going to kick the field goal. 6-point ball game right now with a minute 20 to go.
I think
3 means that the Argos have to score twice.
No, it's a good choice. It's a good choice.
And 1, if McLaughlin should miss, means the Argos need a touchdown.
If he misses, he should keep going right through the end of the stadium.
Yeah, he may just walk right out. Go down to the old corral. He
but they took the full 20 off the clock, too, just as he kicked it. That was a smart play.
So a minute to go, and it's 33-24. Calgary leading the Argos. And it's gone right down to the wire here, as it has in Regina. Gord, what's the final in at Taylor Field?
41-36 Edmonton. Saskatchewan made it close, though. Ken Austin went to Lucius Floyd for a 47-yard touchdown with 4 seconds left. They tried the 2-point convert and missed, and Edmonton hangs on for a clutch victory over the Riders.
And that'll keep the Eskimos in pace with the BC Lions and the Calgary Stampeders in a great race in the Western Division of the Canadian Football League. Time is almost run out on the Toronto Argonauts. Darrell K. Smith drops one at midfield.
Darrell K. Smith. They're all recovery for the Stamps.
The Argos have dropped a couple here today.
Yes, they have. You know, just has not been their day. Nothing really going right. Turnover problems.
You lose your number 1 quarterback, Matt Dunnigan. You lose your number 1 kick returner, Rocket Ismail.
Well, it has to affect the team psychologically. I mean, they know so many of their stars are out, and there's only so many bodies left to take. Whoa!
I thought Carl Anthony was gone.
I don't know. The sun really is in their eyes on that side of the field as they look back across the field, and we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. It's a little sun problem, sunspots.
I don't know, Leaf. I don't think that's the case.
What do you think, Wally? Sunspots out there or what?
No, not at this time of the year in southern Alberta. Seconds remaining for Foggy and the Argos, trailing 33-24. The Argos need a touchdown and more. Foggy comes up short of the first down on 3rd and 10. So that'll wrap it up for the Calgary Stampeders. Question that short kick that sets up the final 3 points for Calgary.
Yeah, I really do. I think
too much time left for the short kick there.
Hindsight's 20/20, but had Adam Rita been able to do it over again, I'm sure he would have kicked it down and hoped his defense could get the ball back. Give the Calgary Stampeders credit, though. They really have battled this afternoon. Defense has played, for the most part, pretty well.
45 seconds remaining now. It is 33-24 for Calgary. Keevan Jenkins plows his way across the 42.
Ball carrier. Gain of 4 yards.
I think if you're a Stampeder fan, I think the good news is also that Gilbert Renfro has come in the second half and played very well, so that can only help them in the long run. Danny Barrett, he gets back and healthy, and now you've got a good number 2 guy or number 1 guy, if the case may be, in Gilbert Renfro. I think that's really good news for them.
Wally Buono likely made the right call today, going with Steve Taylor first and relieving with Gilbert Renfro, who came on in the 3rd quarter and immediately drove the Stampeders for a touchdown.
I agree with that completely.
Jenkins, the ball carrier.
Now 20 seconds to go. The Stampeders will hang on to top spot in the Western Division with a record of 8 wins and 3 losses. BC and Edmonton right on their heels.
Game's over. Hurry, Andy!
Stampeders content to let the final seconds tick off the clock. Easy for the Stampeders, but Wally Buono and company pull it off. Calgary has its 8th win of the 1991 CFL season. 33-24 is the final over Toronto today.
Turning Point brought to you by Tic Tac. We'll take you to the 3rd quarter. After a Calgary interception, Sean Beals heads downfield, makes the catch, and gets away from Don Wilson and several other Argos on his way to a 23-yard touchdown. That's the TSN Turning Point. A cash donation will be made to the Coaching Association of Canada for the training and development of coaches in amateur sport on behalf of TSN and Tic Tac, a 1.5-calorie breath mint. Final score at McMahon Stadium in Calgary. The Stampeders 33, the Argos 24. Back in a moment on the Game of the Week. The CFL Game of the Week on TSN is brought to you by GMC Trucks, the trucks more people lean on. And by Diet 7-Up. It's cool to be clear. First place in the Western Division once again belongs to the Calgary Stampeders, who score a big win over the Toronto Argos. For the Argos, it's a chance now to assess the damage, literally. Quarterback Matt Dunnigan has a separated shoulder. The Rocket, Ragib Ismail, taken to the dressing room with a suspected concussion. So the Argos medical room will be a busy place over the next couple of days. Our next game on TSN comes your way on Saturday from Vancouver. It starts with the CFL report at 10 o'clock Eastern Time. Then it's the Saskatchewan Roughriders and the BC Lions at 10:30 Eastern Time. That's it for now. Final score, Calgary 33, Toronto 24. So long from McMahon Stadium.